Hello and welcome back to the Now We Know Show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest and by the end we will have learned something new and hopefully you will too. I'm Zach.
And I'm Buzz, and in this episode we're talking about Krampus, the Christmas demon.
Ah! If you enjoy the Now We Know Show podcast, why not support Zak Wylde Productions on our Patreon page? Become an official ZWP patron for as little as £1 a month for exclusive early access to all our latest episodes, videos, behind the scenes, updates and more. So, before we get into Krampus, it's time for Word of the Week, 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 Word of the Week. So, Word of the Week is all about old English words we don't use anymore. All you have to do is write down what you think it means in the comments, and we will then reveal what it means at the end of the episode so you can find out if you got it right. The Word of the Week this week is circudary.
Circudary.
Spelt C-I-R-C-U-D-R-I-E. Circudary.
No Googling.
So comment below what you think circudary means. Find out at the end of the episode.
Excellent. Right.
Krampus.
Krampus. Who is Krampus? What is Krampus? What is it all about? Anyway.
I've heard of Krampus.
Well, let's start from the beginning. You're standing here with your Christmas hat on.
Uh-oh. That is telltale signs that it may be the Christmas season.
You're playing the part of St. Nicholas.
Ha-ha!
Whereas I have my Krampus hat on. My horned hat.
The horned beast.
That's it. And I have my Krampus bell.
Yep. Yes, listeners, it does say Krampus on it.
Yes, but you're lucky because I didn't bring my sticks in with me to beat you with.
Oh dear.
Or my basket to put you in.
I dare say we're going to find out all about this during this podcast.
We certainly are. So, Zach, what have you heard about Krampus?
Well, I've heard about Krampus that it's kind of this horned demon that stalks children during the Christmas season. Okay. My knowledge really stems from a lot of movies that have recently come out based around Krampus.
Krampus has become kind of a popular figure in films in recent years, and we're going to look at that later on.
Yes, we are.
After we discuss where Krampus and the festival of Krampusnacht comes from.
Okay.
Because that's really what happens these days. It stems from the festival of Krampusnacht, which is Krampus night.
Oh.
And
is that German?
It's German and Austrian. It's sort of from the Germanic regions.
Right.
Basically is where it comes from.
So there's obviously a lot of history surrounding it.
Yes, there certainly is. So let's take a look at that history, and hopefully I will be able to enlighten you and our wonderful listeners to what or who Krampus is exactly and where it stems from. When it comes to celebrating Yuletide or Christmas, people usually these days think of it, we've got to build up to Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Have
Christmas Day, stuff your face with as much as you can, drink loads, feel like, I've consumed 10,000 calories and whatever. Keel over in an armchair and fall asleep, and then the following day, on Boxing Day is what we call it in the UK, then everybody goes, thank goodness that's over for another year. That's not what I do when it comes to celebrating the festive season.
Perchance, what do we do for Christmas?
Well, everybody does it different. People who are Christians obviously celebrate Christmas in a Christian fashion.
As the birth of Christ.
There's an awful lot of people these days that aren't Christians but celebrate Christmas of a time of, as it is, it's meant to be a time of celebration and goodwill to all, and spreading the milk of human kindness.
Yeah.
Let's say that. And then there's other people that are more into their paganism and they prefer to celebrate Yule, and being the Viking I am, I like to celebrate more of a Viking-style Christmas.
I think you're leaving out a portion of the population, the bar humbugs, that
don't
celebrate Christmas.
Yes, we do know a few bar humbugs. And then I do it my way, which is a winter festival based on...
Yeah, what do you call it?
well, it's a winter festival. It's called Winter Festival, but I call it Winterfest.
Winterfest.
Winter
I like that. I like that.
Winterfest, which starts off with Beowulf Day.
Oh, yes.
On the 24th of December. However, if we're talking about the Christian style of Christmas, then an awful lot of people see that starts on the 6th of December.
Right, and why is that?
Well, it's St. Nicholas Day.
Okay.
St. Nicholas Day is the 6th of September and goes through to the 6th of January, 12th night, if that's correct. And so you've got a big period. I mean, in the medieval period, when Christmas was celebrated, it went on for a long period of time. I think it was a good three-week celebration.
Right.
And it was a time
I would not say no to a 3-week celebration.
Well, it was a time of feasting and partying and seeing, relations and friends in your village, your town. It was a time of abundance because you've gotten past harvest. You've got an awful lot of food that doesn't necessarily keep well over the winter period.
Right.
So there's an excess of fruits, vegetables, etc. And obviously people would have stored them, preserved them, smoked them, salted meats and everything else. But if you have an excess, this is a time to basically eat it as you're going in.
Party time!
As you're going into, the dark half of the year.
Right.
And then you've got winter to get through before spring starts. So we've got this festival that originally lasted for a period of time, and now for a lot of people, and especially commercial companies, they've kind of boiled it down to all happen on one day.
Yeah.
So there's so much pressure.
A Christmas blowout, if you will.
There's this huge build-up that usually starts in September, if not before these days.
Yeah, adverts all on the TV.
Where there's the pressure to buy goods and to make Christmas the perfect Christmas. And then you all the Christmas music that you hear continually in the shops and on the radio and everywhere else. And I don't mind Christmas music. I actually quite like it,
especially during December.
Yeah, and I like Christmas carols as well. So they always make me feel Christmassy, and because it reminds me of my childhood. I had fantastic Christmases when I was a kid, and I was from a very poor family, but that didn't matter. It wasn't about being given the most expensive presents. It was about the few little gifts that you got and the time you spent with your family and the playing of games and really enjoying it.
Oh, that's nice.
And back when I was a kid, we had an open fire, and I just had wonderful memories of a childhood that wasn't a rich childhood by any means, but it was rich in what I experienced. Yeah?
So you're saying that this celebration kind of starts around St. Nicholas Day, which is the 6th of December. That's
right. So, but to round off what I was saying, because of commercialism, everybody's crammed into it. Must make this one perfect down the 25th of December. And if it doesn't happen, if it's not perfect, it's so much pressure and it's ruined. Which is silly. If people could ease back and maybe spread it out, and Krampusnacht would be a good time to start.
Ooh.
So what we have is St. Nicholas Day on, as I say, the 6th of December. But the night before is Krampusnacht.
It's on the 5th.
On the 5th.
Ooh.
And we need to probably start with the origins of as you describe, this demonic creature, which has over the centuries changed form in certain ways, but mostly depicted as in a humanish type of form, but more of a goat-like human.
Is it kind of like a satyr? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, that's the thing. You have these characters like pan characters, which are not only in Eastern European country folklore, but also in folklore from across the world. The same kind of creatures come up again and again, where it's the legs of a goat, but
body of a man
and horns. Very Satan-looking, the way the Christian church
made
Satan.
That's interesting. Is there kind of like a connection to the devil and stuff with this?
When we're talking about and focusing on the origins of Krampus, these stem from rituals which are very pagan. So these would have been Germanic, pagan rituals.
These are quite like ancient.
Way before Christianity came in
and kind of adopted it. Well, adopt it, absorb it.
That's the kind of thing with a lot of religions, and speaking solely on aspect of Christianity. Christianity, when it starts to take over, whether it be in the Scandinavian countries with the Norse mythology, or in this case with Germanic pagan celebrations, you've already got entrenched traditions within
I've lasted
communities
for lifetimes.
for beyond people's memory. And so introducing a new religion, a religion such as Christianity, tried to quash these kind of...
That's a good word, quash.
Yeah, quash, and to get rid of these kind of very traditional pagan
Ideas and celebrations, yeah.
Exactly. But the problem is the pagan celebrations are so popular and enjoyed so much that they end up, in a lot of cases, bowing to the local traditions and kind of end up, as you say, incorporating them in.
Right.
Watering them down.
That's sneaky. That's a sneaky move.
So that people can keep those traditions but still follow a new religion.
So you're saying these really enjoyable celebrations. What was it that made them so
Christians
enjoyable?
Don't enjoy themselves, by the way. But I'm just saying, talking about the history,
Well, these pagan.
Yeah, talking about the history of Krampus is what we're talking about tonight.
So these pagan rituals and celebrations, what was it that really made them so enjoyable?
Well,
what did they do?
I suppose you had to be there. I would imagine it would have been a lot of, again, feasting, drinking of whatever the traditional drinks would have been back then. Probably mead, probably the oldest type of fermented alcoholic drink that I can think of in Europe would be mead, because that is fermented from honey. And there would be dancing and probably a lot of fertility rites. We're coming into we've now come into winter, so we've got the long dark nights. People have got to get through winter.
Well, that's it. The actual sunlight now, it's kind of getting dark around lunchtime, isn't it?
Oh, I think sunset today in the UK. Obviously that varies because you can be in Scotland, but I think for Middle England, where we are, I think it was about 3 minutes to 4 in the afternoon.
And that's as of time of recording, by the way.
Yeah, as of time of recording. We're recording this and it is Tuesday.
Yeah.
But Sunday, in Scandinavia, there is a town right in the north of Scandinavia known as Tromsø, which is now past the Arctic Circle. And the Arctic Circle being the line between where the sun rises and sets. So on Sunday was the last day they had of sunlight.
What? So it's just dark all the time?
Completely dark now.
Wow. How long does that last?
The sun won't come back above the horizon, I think, until about... I haven't got the dates in front of me, but I think it's about the 12th, 15th of January.
Okay, so in the new year.
Yeah,
wow.
The new year.
That's kind of creepy, but also cool.
So they've got this period of time when they're in complete darkness.
Wow.
No sunlight.
30 days of night all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I do believe it swings the other way. So, they'll, in the summertime, they have no night.
That's weird to think about.
Anyway, so you can imagine these old pagan folk living. I mean, obviously, we've got global warming that we always mentioned global warming. But back in the Victorian times in the UK, we used to have on the River Thames what were known as frost fairs.
Yeah, the frost fairs.
Where the Thames would completely freeze solid.
Was it true at one point they had elephants on it?
Yep. Yeah, I believe so.
Wow.
But they used to put the booths up, which is an old-fashioned term for a tent. But the tents would be erected on the ice. There'd be ice skating. The River Thames would freeze so solid that the ice was that thick. It was probably a couple of feet thick minimum.
When was the last frost fair?
I believe the late 1800s.
Wow. Okay.
So we've had a period now of just over 100 years where...
No.
1963, we had a really, really bad winter in the UK.
Yeah.
But progressively, as we've noticed, we're getting warmer.
Warmer and warmer and warmer and warmer.
Less and less snow. And harking back to my childhood, it was just like a guarantee. I remember in the shed in the garden, we had the sleds hanging up.
Oh, cool.
My father built... I remember this lovely wooden sled that my father built me. And back then you could go to your blacksmith because we still had
Local blacksmith.
Yeah,
Wow.
blacksmiths are still around because they still do all the shodding of the shoes on horses. You know, when a horse needs to be shod, you need a blacksmith. But there was probably more around. And so I remember he built this sled for me, and then got some where you had cartwheels. They had a metal band that ran round the wheel. They didn't have like a rubber tyre on them or a wooden wheel. You needed a metal
To kind of hold it together.
Well, to hold it together, but also to wear
To increase the kind of
durability.
duration of how much it could be used.
So you got some of that metal and put the strips under the runners.
That's clever.
And then he painted it red. And I remember this red sled that we had.
Oh, nice.
I absolutely loved that as a kid. But the thing was, the reason I mention it was guaranteed every year that sled had come out of the shed and we'd go sledding.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Honestly. What happened?
Building snowmen, even trying to make, rudimentary igloos as us kids did.
Snow now is just like wishful thinking.
Yeah, wishful thinking.
Like, the association between Christmas and snow is like every year. Advertising everywhere.
You mean the kids that go into McDonald's and they come out and look, it's suddenly snowing.
Yeah, and everything. All the advertisements on shop windows,
snow,
cakes,
snowmen,
whatever. Snow everywhere. Except actually the weather.
Yeah, the weather doesn't like us in the UK at the moment for that. Not to say we won't get snow. And obviously, again, we're in Middle England, but higher up, Sheffield and above, they
Fingers and toes crossed.
But even when they do get snow in the UK, it doesn't seem to last that long.
No.
When you're talking about the Scandinavian countries, it's there for months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're living...
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, well, not everybody likes snow.
There's
going to be people listening to this saying, stop your snow, you can keep your snow. But I think that's the other thing, people get used to living in that environment where if you don't have snow, you don't have to think about snow, you don't have to deal with snow, then going to work and commuting and all those things, your trains are running on time, nothing really gets disrupted. And you get kind of used to that in life. But then when the snow comes and you get the disruption, and you know what it's like, we get a flurry of snow on the road in the UK and suddenly there's accidents left, right and centre.
Well, that's it.
Everything goes to pot. The whole country shuts down.
I remember being a bit younger and having snow days at school where they'd call off school.
Yeah, but when I was a kid in the 70s, we would trudge to snow. So when I was a kid in the 70s, we would trudge to school in the deep snow, get to school, and we'd sit at the desks with our coats on because the heating system had broken down, and that's what it was. And then we all went out in the playground, had mass snowball fights, which I don't think you kids are allowed to do anymore.
No, not allowed.
And go home again. It wasn't like snow days. To be fair, a lot of the teachers probably lived near to the schools back then. Nowadays, a lot of teachers commute in, and if they can't get the teachers into the schools, and the parents commute in, and because not everybody can live near the school, so there's other factors involved. Suffice to say that the last time I was in Finland, going from the UK, you came with us on that trip to Finland.
Yeah, when I was little.
And we flew out there, and we landed on the airstrip, and the whole airstrip was just thick ice. You literally went down the stairs onto the tarmac of the airstrip and you were sliding all over the place. But getting in vehicles and driving to the hotel where we were staying, they're just driving like normal. Thick snow, they got the snow chains on, they're just going for it because they're used to living in those conditions. So we're going back to a time talking about Krampus where our pagan ancestors, our Germanic ancestors are enjoying these feasts and revelries. And Christianity comes along and kind of adopts them, tries to squash them.
Doesn't quite
really work, so we'll adopt it along the way, and get sort of like making the most of it. You see what I mean? So we kind of talked a little bit about what it's like to be in the UK and how the weather's changed and things, but ultimately, Krampusnacht is all about the Christmas demon, and let's find out what he is, and what their job is. Okay?
Right.
So Christmas is a wonderful time of the year when a nice man with a big white beard,
ho ho ho,
wearing red, it's you, Zach.
It's me.
Yeah, wearing red. He brings gifts to all the well-behaved children.
Are you well-behaved, Buzz?
I try my best. It's a time of joy and love, and when everybody is meant to stand around the piano singing Christmas carols, eating mince pies, warming themselves by the open
jolly
fire.
old time.
Jolly old time, and being nice to everybody.
Maybe a
for
good
change.
a cheese board.
Everybody being nice to
I'd like a cheese board.
Cheese board is a good idea. However, for those who haven't gotten over Halloween and want a little bit more horror in their festive season, Krampus, the Christmas demon, might make a surprise trip to visit them if they've been naughty this year.
Oh no.
So for all those people out there that are going, I know what it's like. We see it on social media. It's like, yeah, Halloween's coming. There's
Then everyone gets Halloween withdrawal symptoms.
So if you've got Halloween withdrawal symptoms, Krampus.
Extend it
with Krampus. Okay, so let's dive into the story of Krampus, the Christmas demon. The legend of Krampus, comes from, as I've already said, Central European folklore, primarily Germanic, if you like. The name Krampus comes from the German word Krampen, meaning claw. Okay, so when you see these images of Krampus, he's got like big clawed hands. Most of them are like big sharp fangs.
Ooh.
He's got his horns. Some of them have like double horns, don't they?
Yeah. It's great seeing some of the costumes people come up with.
We might call him Krampus now, but Krampus has also been known over the years by many different names which have been attached to him, such as Klaubath.
Klaubath? That sounds like somebody with a giant club.
Bartel.
Oh, that's cute.
Bartel, just with an extra E. Niglobartel.
That's a bit more complicated.
Woobartel.
Sounds like a surprise Bartel.
Pelzelblock.
Sorry?
Pelsnickel. You'll like this one. Grumpfennickel.
Oh, yeah, that's my favourite.
Krampuses, with a Z on the end.
Now, that reminds me of a pumpernickel.
A pumpernickel. Pumpernickel.
Do you know what that is?
A pumpernickel, if I recall, if you don't know, if you've heard of it, pumpernickel is a bread. I think that's a German bread, pumpernickel. But the word means fart goblin.
Yeah. Pumpernickel.
If you
fart
say
goblin.
If you know somebody who doesn't know that pumpernickel means fart goblin, then by all means go, you're my favourite little pumpernickel. And they'll have no idea. Anyway, so Krampus is this Christmas demon, and he's meant to come, and he's kind of, he coming from pagan times, they used to do what's called a Krampus run, where they would dress up in skins, animal skins, sheep skins.
Kind of like ancient cosplay.
That's it. Put wooden masks representing
kind of like
Krampus.
mummers.
Yeah, like mummers. We've discussed mummers before. So put these masks, wooden masks on, put the fur on, and then on Krampusnacht they would run through the village or wherever they are with chains. Chains may have come later on with Christianity, but they certainly had bells. Okay, they had their bells, and they also carry. Krampus is known to either have a sack or a wicker basket on his back.
And what's that for?
Let's get to that.
Presents?
Not quite. It's the reverse. So they've got this basket here he carries, and a lot of birch twigs, like what we call you make a faggot of twigs to burn on the fire. So you'd have these birch twigs, and they're for beating the children. So Krampus would come on Krampusnacht, and he would be there to specifically teach the naughty children a lesson. And the naughty children would be beaten with the birch twigs.
Oh dear.
They'd be stuffed into his basket, and they would be carried off to the underworld.
Oh dear.
Where they would be tortured and eaten.
Lovely.
And Krampus isn't necessarily just Krampus by himself. There may be more Krampus, if you see.
So it's kind of like a species,
like a collective
of demons.
So they would do a Krampus run through the village, ringing the bells. And Krampus, I think, is meant to have these bells because, in kind of a dark way, we associate listening out for Santa and the reindeer with bells. So the bells are presumed to attract the children.
Oh, it's like a lure.
A lure. He uses the bells to lure the children.
I love it.
So you get this little Santa.
Come on, children. Let me
Santa.
sneak you into my basket.
And then suddenly you're off to the underworld.
You're whipped up and beaten with twigs.
That's it, exactly. And so...
Why are we smiling at this? This should be scary.
Should be scary, exactly. So as I say, Krampus is this Christmas demon, eats children, bless him, and said to be a companion of St. Nicholas, who is known to obviously give gifts to the poor and the well-behaved. Krampus, on the other hand, comes during the Christmas period to kidnap, as I've already said, to kidnap the children who misbehave as a form of punishment. The true origins of Krampus are unclear and undetermined, as I've already mentioned, and it's kind of suggested, as I say, that the whole celebration, if you like, of Krampus and Krampusnacht dates back as far as pre-Christian origins. Yeah. However, we're talking about Krampus and we're talking about pre-Christian pagan festivals.
Mm-hmm.
There was a pagan goddess known as Percha, which again was worshipped in the Germanic regions, and she was a kind of a goddess who was both good and evil.
Right. So kind of like a female Santa.
Yeah, if you like, that was meant to bestow gifts on the good people.
Mrs. Claus, almost.
Almost. And punish the bad people, you see.
Ooh, that's going a bit darker.
So she was worshipped in the Alpine regions. It's kind of upper Germany, the Austrian regions of the Alps. And her name, Percha, meant the bright one. And even the brothers Grimm mention Percha in their stories and mention that she was from the upper German regions. Okay.
So is she kind of like this
she
half malevolent spirit that's kind of almost like Krampus, or is Krampus?
No, she's not Krampus. Not at this pre-Christian era. So we're talking early paganism, as far back as we can find any kind of information about Percha. But she was a deity that was celebrated and worshipped, but she was that, if you like, good, with also the shadow, her opposite flip side of evil.
Right.
Okay. So she was a deity that was both good and bad, and over time Percha changed from being a goddess figure to actually being two separate Percha.
Huh.
And at that point they start to become described as what we see Krampus as now, these kind of pan-like goat demons. However, one of the Percha was good and one was evil. Okay, so you've got the kind of good and bad tradition of, you better behave yourself, you'll get the blessings of the good one, and if you don't, then you're going to have to face the bad one.
Or get given coal, is that something to do with Krampus?
I don't know exactly whether that was... It's certainly associated with Krampus, and it's certainly associated with, if you're a bad child... when I was a kid,
it's a saying, isn't it?
I was associated that Santa or Father Christmas or St. Nicholas or Sinterklaas would leave a lump of coal for bad children.
Or
Thor. Sinterklaas, there you go. That's just for another day, that is.
For another day.
For another day. Anyway, so I believe that, yes, coal is also associated with Krampus.
You'll get coal in your stocking. But the thing about being given coal in a stocking is that it's actually quite useful. Mm-hmm. Unless it's just one lump. Is it one lump or like a load?
I just think it's just a lump. If it was loads, I'd be happy because you can put it on the fire and it stay warm. So, way. Anyway, so Christianity starts to come in. You've got these people that are still doing, celebrating these old Alpine Germanic pagan rituals and enjoying themselves. And as we've already said, it gets melded into the Christian belief because the Christians aren't able to completely exorcise it from the locals' traditions, you see. So St. Nicholas appears, who is the all-malevolent character who rewards people and blesses people. But he needs his dark side. So Krampus is... The tradition of Krampus at this point has now been tagged on to St. Nicholas, as his helper. So Krampus is like the opposite to St. Nicholas, but helps St. Nicholas. But
They're a double act.
They're a double act. St. Nicholas kind of allows him to deal with all the naughty children on Krampusnacht. You see, and as I say, that's this is where I did mention about chains. From my research, I don't believe the chains were associated pre-Christian. From what I found, it is that associating Krampus with having chains as well as his bells to lure the children in is an introduction possibly from the Christian church to mark the binding of the devil in chains.
Well, that would make sense given it's Krampus and that's association with devil.
Yeah, exactly. So Krampus, when we're talking about the being associated with the devil and his look, because he's like that demonic goat, again, he's shown at times to actually have one human leg and then one goat leg.
Ooh, I don't like that at all. That's weird.
That's weird. But in most depictions, having both being goat legs, and it's very popular. And back in the 1800s, when it became popular to send Christmas cards, images of Krampus were often sent out, and they were both kind of saucy as well as terrifying.
Maybe one for Hellraiser fans.
Perhaps. Anyway, so Krampus, as I say, his appearance has changed, and of course now his appearance, except in movies, where they've started to take more of a demonised approach to him.
Well, if you're moving into the kind of movie territory, then that's kind of where I came into the idea of
Krampus.
Knowing Krampus.
Yeah, we'll cover that in a moment, but in fact, Krampus was originally depicted, as I said, as a half goat, half demon with a mangled, deranged face, bloodshot eyes, hairy black body, a long pointed, I forgot about the long pointed tongue, and sharp fangs, and horns that curl up from his head. And Krampus is often pictured, as I've already mentioned, with one human foot and one cloven foot. And that's how it kind of sat for many years. Although the modern depictions of Krampus, the Christmas demon, are still terrifying in appearance, he has kind of been made more wholesome in terms of how he takes his victims, but he keeps some original aspects that made him terrifying to begin with. Krampus is known to have some important appearance details that relate back to Christian and pagan traditions, such as I say, the chains and the bells and the birch twigs to beat people with. And even today, they still have Krampus runs where
they're
festivals.
Do they hold them in England at all?
I don't believe so.
Because looking into it, I think there was something up at Whitby.
Do you know, there may well have been. Now you mention it. I
think there's a Krampus run up at Whitby.
It could be. If there is, it's a recent introduction in the recent year or years. Maybe because we had COVID, it's probably maybe it just started before COVID, and then there's no chance to do anything. But certainly in Austria and Germany, they have Krampus runs where again people.
They're embedded into
they dress up
the annual celebrations.
Yeah,
so.
and they're part of the Christmas celebration, and people will come to watch all the Krampus run through the streets, and they will. They will give you a clout.
That's the thing.
I think they're allowed to hit you on the back of the leg.
I came across a TripAdvisor advert for a Krampus runs occurring,
really? Did you?
And what they said was, "Hold on to your valuables."
Righty ho. Interesting enough, the bundles of birch twigs that they carry, that you often see Krampus carrying to strike people with.
Yeah.
The bundle is actually a traditional symbol of Alpine pagan origin, known as a rutan.
A rutan?
A rutan. Spelled R-U-T-E-N. Or rutan.
Rutan, okay.
Rutan. I'll pronounce it rutan.
Rutan, that's kind of like your Doctor Who kind of green blobby monster. But we're not talking about Doctor Who. We're talking about Krampus.
Krampus. So anyway, these were made up by binding up twigs of fresh cut birch branches and used for whipping, basically.
How lovely.
That's it. And so some people use gold-painted rutan steel to hang on their walls in their homes to remind the children of Krampus and to behave themselves.
I think I heard something about that, yeah.
So they're still using these bundles of rutan, these birch twigs.
Be good, children!
They're spraying them with gold paint. They've become a traditional Christmas decoration.
I tell you what, we should do that. That would be really cool.
We'll go and get a bundle of birch twigs.
Yeah, spray them gold and put them on the mantelpiece.
Well, I'm a traditionalist. I wouldn't spray them gold. I'd just
Birch.
bind them up, hang them up as naturally.
There we go.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that. We should start a bit more, add to our Krampus celebrations.
Well, we've got the bell.
That's it. You have to. You see that's you do it like this. I'm Krampus.
Yeah, you're Krampus. I'm St. Nicholas. I don't know how to operate your bell.
Stop fiddling with my bells. Anyway, so as a Krampus has been known to carry these rooten, which he will occasionally swat children with. So even on the traditional Krampus runs now, they'll still carry these bundles of rooten. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, or rutten maybe. But they'll still carry them, and they'll still whack people on the back of the legs with them if you're not careful.
Don't wear skirts.
Don't wear skirts. I don't want to wear skirts. I might wear a kilt. It depends.
But don't go to a Krampus run whilst wearing a kilt.
So Krampus, actually, Zach, Krampus has various ways of attacking and kidnapping victims, and sometimes he appears with a sack, as I've already mentioned, or a basket on his back to cart away naughty children for drowning and eating. Ooh.
Drowning and eating,
and transporting them to the underworld. Oh. In some of the earlier versions of Krampus, some depict naughty children being put in a bag and taken away. Other way he attacks is by poking the children with sticks and scaring some with the realisation of them being naughty, although the main depiction of Krampus is him kidnapping children.
Oh joy.
So in Germany and Austria and the places that still celebrate these traditional Krampusnacht, these Krampus nights, it's celebrated, as I say, on the 5th of December, the day before the feast of St. Nicholas, which is on the 6th.
Remember, everyone, Krampus night is on the 5th of December.
That's it. That's when he's going to come. If you've been naughty, you go straight in the sack. Anyway, Krampus night is when the wicked devil appears in the streets, sometimes with St. Nicholas. As I say, St. Nicholas's helper is depicted as. So he visits homes and businesses of those that have misbehaved, while the saint often appears in vestments of a bishop and carries a golden ceremonial staff. St. Nicholas only concerns himself with the good children, while Krampus only concerns himself with the bad children. And these both differ from America's Santa Claus, with his black Wellington boots and Coca-Cola.
Is that actually where it came from, that whole association with bread?
I believe... No. Because obviously St. Nicholas is depicted in red. I believe in Holland, in the Netherlands, I believe that's Cinder Claus, or St. Nicholas there wears green. It was also traditional for him to have a helper known as Black Peter. But I don't know if they still do that in recent years because of racial issues, having somebody blacked up as Black Peter. I don't know if that still goes on. But of course, when we're talking about American Father Christmas or Santa Claus, I believe I'm right in saying that stems from a Coca-Cola ad campaign with the big fat.
We all know which one it is. We've all seen the advert.
Yeah, with the big jolly fat Father Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.
With the black boots and the big beard advertising campaign.
Enjoying Coca-Cola.
Which is different from the traditional St. Nicholas Father Christmas, if you like. To answer your earlier question, though, Zach, St. Nicholas will give candy and nice presents to children, while Krampus gives coal and hits them with his rootin' sticks.
Love it.
Yeah, there we go. So anyway, again, Europeans have been sending and receiving greeting cards with Krampus on since the 1800s, which is what I mentioned earlier. Usually on those cards, it reads, Gruß von Krampus. I'll say that again. On those cards, it reads, Gruß vom Krampus, which translates to greetings from Krampus. And they usually depict the menacing figure of Krampus looking over children, and there might be funny rhymes or poems in the card, and him sticking children in his basket or hitting them with sticks and them crying and all sorts of things like that. But even now, those sort of cards have been toned down over the years, and the representation of Krampus has changed. Older styles of the cards were very much scarier compared to modern cards that depict him, and he's now being depicted as a more of a Cupid-like creature. which has also been featured on postcards and candy packing. So they've really sort of toned it down. But I do remember seeing a news broadcast with, I think it was in a shopping centre in Germany, where they had this fantastic display. And in the UK, when we have you go into a shopping centre, they have animated reindeer, don't they?
Yeah.
Little heads that bob up and down, or a penguin that's
Polar bear. Christmas tree.
Why? I don't know. Penguins live in the South Pole. I don't understand.
It doesn't make geographical
It
sense.
doesn't make geographical sense. Santa's from the North Pole. They have penguins. But anyway, maybe somebody can write in the comments and explain why they have penguins in the North Pole at Christmas. But anyway, so we have these displays of all these lovely little animals doing things. Whereas in Germany, in the shopping centre, there's this fantastic thing where there's this giant Krampus who's got this child by the ankle and he's lifting the screaming child, and the child's screaming, and then he's being dunked in his sack. And all the kids are going, wow, that's brilliant.
That's brilliant. Why can't we have decorations like this?
It's traumatisingly terrifying, but it was really good.
It teaches to keep your kids in line.
Ooh, remember the Krampus spell. So that is kind of my...
Remember the 5th of December.
Yeah, Krampusnacht and bells. Anyway, so that's
That was good, actually. I quite like that.
So that's kind of where, from its early origins of Krampus coming from this goddess, perhaps this goddess Pectu, all the way through to being blended in with Christianity and having to accept that the locals like their pagan traditions and making him the darker side of St. Nicholas. There you go. And that's why we have Krampusnacht, and they still have Krampus runs. But you said, quite rightly so, you were kind of introduced to Krampus, although
Via the movies.
I've been familiar with Krampus
for a while.
For many years, but the characters become more popular
through the movies.
And to use as a movie character. So that's where you come in, because you've obviously learned about Krampus.
I've seen a few of the movies.
We've
got a few of them with us here today.
Yeah, and I think probably what we're going to do now that all our listeners know what Krampusnacht is about, what Krampus is, what he looks like, that he comes and punishes and steals away the naughty children, perhaps if the listeners haven't indulged in watching any Krampus movies,
definitely do.
This is the opportunity for you listeners to learn maybe what's good and what's not so good. Overall, now you've made a list of the movies.
I've made a list. Now, this list does include films we haven't yet seen. Or have.
Right,
obviously.
So you've basically accumulated a list of as many Krampus movies as you have been able to find.
They have whether or not they're actually Krampus movies is debatable by some of them.
Right.
But they have Krampus in the title.
Okay.
At least to some extent. Or include Krampus.
Okay. I appreciate that, because I know a movie that we watched recently, which, we'll get to that. So you've got a list of these Krampus associated movies.
It's about 10.
About 10. So do you want to read out the list of
some
movies?
Of which we have seen?
Okay, and we're gonna review for you listeners the ones we've seen, but let's have the whole list, Zach.
Okay. Krampus.
Okay.
The Devil Returns.
That's one.
Which is a sequel to Krampus, the Christmas Devil.
Okay, that's 2.
Krampus Unleashed.
3.
Krampus the Reckoning.
4.
Krampus Origins.
5.
Mother Krampus 2 Sleigh Ride.
6.
Mother Krampus.
7.
A Christmas Horror Story.
8.
Krampus.
9.
Rare Exports.
Ah, yes. Rare Exports. 10.
There we go.
So there's our 10.
So of those, we have seen 5.
So let's look at those 5 now, and let's review them for the listeners, because actually some of these are gems and some of them stink. I like both a good Christmas movie, Die Hard. I like a good Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas
movie. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I don't care if you say it isn't. It is. Anyway, so I like a good Christmas movie. I like a good horror movie. And blending the two at this festive time of the year. Call me weird, but it's really quite fun. And when they get it right, they get it right. And when they get it wrong,
They get it so
wrong.
So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be ranking some of the Krampus films that we've actually seen.
That we've seen. Okay.
So,
What have we got first?
first up, Mother Krampus.
Mother Krampus.
Or Mother Krampus 2 Sleigh Ride,
Right.
which is what we discovered when we actually put it in the DVD player.
Right. Because the actual cover actually just says Mother Krampus. Whereas, as you say, it's a sequel. But it didn't have any
No.
obvious thing. And on the cover, it depicts a lady who looks like she's come out of a TV screen.
Yeah, she kind of looks a bit Christmassy, I
Well,
guess.
she's in like a Christmas outfit, like a Santa Claus outfit.
Misleading front cover,
But
this
she
one.
also looks. She's in a forest, and she also looks like the thing. What's the one? The Ring. Which
Yeah.
comes out the TV screen.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine that character with a red dress on and a hood, like Red Riding Hood, has nothing to do with
Has
the movie
nothing
at all.
to do
With the
with
movie. In fact, Krampus, I believe, was never even mentioned in the movie.
No,
It's
it's just called Mother Krampus.
It
There is
was-
no connection to Krampus whatsoever. It's really mind-boggling.
It was It was Christmas in the movie,
Yeah,
but that's it.
it's just about an escaped lunatic that
Who-
kills some
evil.
people. And the weird thing about it was that if you're a fan of the Halloween franchise, it looked like a Captain Kirk Halloween mask.
Yeah, it looked like they'd done
They put a wig on it.
It was basically female Michael Myers.
Yeah, but really bad.
Really bad.
So bad.
So it's okay. This is in the number one position at the moment because we haven't looked at any other movies.
We're going to have to change that pronto.
Pronto, because that is a real. How did you say it? It was a big pile of
Crapmas.
Krampus. Yes. Anyway, what have we got next?
Next up, Krampus, the Christmas Devil.
Okay.
Now, notice the cover on this one. We're going to see another one in a minute.
Okay.
But the cover is somewhat looks like that.
Okay. Now I kind of remember watching this one, but I don't think I've seen it for.
Now this, as opposed to Mother Krampus, actually has Krampus in it.
Okay.
And I thought this was going to be the super bad one, but then I saw Mother Krampus.
Hang on a second. Is this the one where Krampus has got somebody in a cage?
Yes.
Oh dear.
In a somewhat
Yes. In a kind of
unclothed fashion.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
It was weird, because then it had Santa in it as well, but he was effing and blinded.
Yeah, he was a bad Santa.
Bad Santa.
It's a bad Santa. Bad Santa's a good movie.
Good movie.
This one isn't.
No.
Okay, so this one is now going. This seems really mad. This one's getting first place because it was actually better than Mother Krampus.
And I didn't even think that was possible.
No, Krampus the Christmas Devil is so bad, you kind of like thought it couldn't get any worse
Yeah.
until we watched Mother Krampus. Yeah, we'll never get that time back.
Oh dear.
Okay, so now Krampus the Christmas Devil is in first position.
Oof.
Mother Krampus is at number 2.
We're going to have to change this pronto.
Okay, so what have we got?
A classic. A Christmas horror story.
Yes.
I hear you cry out with joy.
Oh, A Christmas Horror Story. If you haven't seen A Christmas Horror Story, that is one of my favourite Christmas gems. It has actually got William Shatner in it.
Yeah, he's playing like a DJ, and it kind of revolves around his DJ radio station. It
Yeah.
kind of acts almost as an anthology movie. It's got a couple of different things going on.
I like it because it's all set at Christmas Eve, if I'm correct.
Yeah, Christmas Eve in Bailey Downs.
Bailey Downs. Bailey Downs actually comes up in another movie.
Yeah, do you remember?
Let me think. Listeners are going to be screaming at me right now. See, that's it. It's like when you have things like Nightmare on Elm Street, which are in what's Nightmare on Elm Street? Which town's that in? Oh, I can't think. Oh, what about Halloween?
Halloween, that's Haddonfield.
Haddonfield. So you have these horror franchises that have a town that keeps recurring.
Yeah.
And Bailey Downs has come to me now.
Yeah.
I had to keep talking to
Good. I was
drag it out there.
I was gonna. Yeah.
Ginger Snaps.
Correct.
Ginger Snaps werewolf movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
A very good trilogy of werewolf movies.
Yeah. I did enjoy them as a werewolf movie. And the two actresses that played Ginger and her sister, really
Bridget.
good. Bridget, that's it. And I liked the third movie on that one because that one was
That was a prequel.
prequel. And that
Ginger
was,
Snaps Back at the beginning.
yeah, it was Ginger Snaps
Ginger Snaps Unleashed.
and then Ginger Snaps.
Ginger
back.
Snaps Back at the beginning.
But they are in Bailey Downs,
Yes.
and this is based in
Bailey Downs. I think it was made by the same people.
It's great. But William Shatner's really good in it.
Yeah.
It's really good. And the thing is, it's is it three different stories?
3 or 4 stories.
One. Okay, yeah, because you
Got the changeling one.
changing one, some people in a school.
Locked in school, yeah.
You've got
The Santa.
Santa. Is there a?
Yes, it's the Krampus one where they kind of get possessed by Krampus. Do you remember that?
Yes, yeah, that's
Yeah.
where Krampus comes into this movie.
But he's in kind of 2 of the stories.
Yeah, and I like the Krampus as the Krampus that is presented.
The
in
creature design is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. They've spent the money on the Krampus creature.
Unlike Krampus, the Christmas Devil.
if you actually see,
He's just a guy in a hood.
if you actually watch Christmas Horror Story, the Krampus in that it's white. It makes a change because it's a white Krampus.
Yeah.
And I do believe after watching, I think it was behind the scenes.
He's muscular.
He's a
Krampus.
really big muscle bodybuilder, and and as you say, the design was great.
I think this movie has pretty much anything you could want.
Yeah.
It's got action, horror.
And a really good twist.
Oh, that twist.
And I am not
that
spoiling.
twist
I am not spoiling the twist for anything, but it has got a brilliant twist that not only is like it just makes you laugh, but it's just like, oh man,
It tops it off. It
tops
tops it off.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, without a shadow of a doubt, Christmas Horror Story goes into number 1. There it is.
Okay, we're getting in.
What have we got next?
Next up,
Dun, dun, dun.
Krampus.
Now this was a big budget one, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was the kind of mainstream big budget Krampus movie. Now, if you look at the front cover, that compared to Christmas Devil.
They've just literally almost copied the artwork.
Because I think we got Krampus, the Christmas Devil, first, and you thought it was that one.
Yeah.
We then later got
Krampus,
the big budget version, the next year. So we were really disappointed with the Christmas Devil.
Yeah.
Thankfully,
Krampus takes it up a notch. I mean, it was a good fun movie.
I like it.
And I've watched it a couple of times.
Because Krampus in it is big.
Yeah.
He's kind of like wearing a big red hood.
Yeah,
and he kind of has like a Santa face, but the big tongue.
But he doesn't. He's not giving away too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's kind of silhouetted because he's jumping across roofs and stuff. Because they've got loads of CGI and stuff.
It's a difficult one to place now because having that one against a Christmas Horror Story. I mean, this episode is about Krampus.
Yeah.
And that film is about Krampus, whereas Christmas Horror Story has Krampus in it.
But he's on the front cover. Look, the bauble.
Yes. He's in it, but he's not the main character.
That is true.
Ooh, this is a hard one.
That is tough.
Yeah.
It's definitely above Mother Krampus and A Christmas Devil.
There is a huge chasm, the chasm of Gunnan Gap between Krampus, A Christmas Devil, and A Christmas Horror Story. But where were we going to put Krampus compared to the Christmas Horror Story?
I think, personally, if we're going for the horror factor, the scarier Krampus is in Krampus 2015.
Yep.
But I really do like the depiction of Krampus in A Christmas Horror Story.
But I think it's only fair to say that the whole focus of this podcast is about Krampus, and the movie Krampus is all about Krampus. Christmas Horror Story, as beloved as it is as a fantastic...
As a festive horror film...
Yeah, but it is not...
That is, like, top-notch.
But it's not solely Krampus. So, because simply we're discussing Krampus, I'm going to have to put Krampus in front of Christmas Horror Story. But...
It feels so wrong to do that, but I feel your justification is very valid on that point.
Yeah, I kind of feel A Christmas Horror Story is better in a lot of ways than to Krampus.
Mm-hmm.
But Krampus is a total Krampus
What I
movie.
really like about Christmas Horror Story is kind of that anthology style, because it's very different. You don't usually get films like that now.
Yep.
Whereas everything's more kind of the single story.
Yep. But what I do recall about Krampus, the movie, is that there's a lot of physical effects in it.
Yeah, it's got like, I think Krampus actually got like all these little minions.
Yeah, he's got like these clown type
toys and things.
Which, there's
an evil gingerbread man at one point.
Yeah, it's not so much. Was there any CGI in it? Perhaps a little.
A bit when he's jumping across the roofs.
Right, but the rest of it is all physical effects.
Yeah.
And actually, I quite like that. That's very 80s, and it was very well done.
Yeah, because it's kind of almost...
And very creepy.
Yeah, because in that, it's kind of like a base under siege, but it's the family house.
Yeah, the family house. Yeah.
And they get snowed in. And it turns out that
But the family themselves aren't a very nice family.
no, you most of them have it coming.
That's why Krampus is coming to visit. You know, remember Krampus. If you hear the bells,
Remember the 5th of December.
it might not be Santa. Okay, so we're going to leave it because this is a Krampus episode. Krampus is going in front of Christmas Horror Story. If I could, anyway,
yeah.
it's going to stay there. What have we got next?
Our final one.
Okay, out of the 10
Yes.
that you found, and the 5 that we've watched.
Yeah, we're going to have to do another one next year when we've seen the
The
other
other
5.
5, yeah. Review
Final
them.
one. Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale. Oh,
Suit you, sir.
creme de la creme.
Suit you, sir.
This is really good.
Now, this one is actually it's Scandinavian, yeah?
Yeah.
It's a Scandinavian movie. So along the same sort of lines as Troll Hunter,
Similar.
Dead
yeah.
Snow,
Yeah, it's subtitled,
Yeah,
so
so-
it does have that.
but it does have some English speakers in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are people that speak English. So as long as you don't mind reading the subtitles and you don't find that detracts from the movie,
Which I don't.
yeah, I don't know, it's fine. But it's really, really good.
Yeah. Oh,
Really good. You said that the Krampus in the movie, all the listeners are getting, I'm saying Krampus so much. The last movie, which is called Krampus, had a gigantic Krampus in it.
yeah.
Rare Exports
Blooming
has a
massive.
kaiju Krampus. It's ridiculous.
Because it kind of revolves around the fact that they kind of discover this kind of ancient burial mound.
Yeah, it's like Krampus has become, the December the 5th Krampus runs festival kind of thing. That it's a thing which is become a tradition, but everybody actually has forgotten the reality behind it,
Yeah.
and then they accidentally discover the reality behind it.
Well, that's the thing. They think they have captured Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah, that's right, they do. Now, that might sound comical in a way, but they think they have, but they haven't.
It's the way it's presented is so creepy.
Yeah, it's for me, what gets me is the elves.
Yeah.
The elves.
Because that's it. They think it's Santa, but they're actually the elves.
The elves are old men,
Yeah.
and they think that that's Santa.
Yeah.
Because
there's loads of them.
people have this preconception of that Santa is a
A bearded old man.
bearded old man, and it's not. They are old, naked men actually.
Yeah.
But they are so creepy.
So creepy. They just kind of stare at you.
And then they find Krampus.
They can smell the blood of
That's it.
children.
They can smell children. You see, that's what kind of reanimates.
Because they kind of
them.
kidnap
'Cause they-
the
yeah.
children and everything.
Oh man, it's a good movie, that one.
Makes you
I
watch it,
love
doesn't it?
But the thing is, it's the star of the movies, the little boy,
Yeah.
and he has been in what was that Samuel L. Jackson movie,
Big game.
Big Game, and I think he's been in several movies. That little lad.
Since this, yeah.
Yeah, and he does a fantastic job, and I love it.
Whoopee.
He's got his little toy.
Whoopee.
Whoopee.
It looks like kind of like a. It's kind of like just like a furry bag
Yeah, on a string.
that he drags across the floor. It's so cute. It's so cute.
Come with me, Whoopee. I want a Whoopee.
Yeah. There you
I
go.
should have a Christmas Whoopee.
We talked about budget Christmas this year.
Yeah. Well, budget Christmas. We're having imagination Christmas.
I've got a pogo stick.
I've got a Hulu.
Woohoo! Imagination Christmas.
Yay!
That was a
Yes.
Simpsons reference.
That's right. It's because everybody's got no money this year. Got to think about paying the bills. So anyway, Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale. Totally a Krampus movie.
Totally a Krampus movie. Definitely recommended. Definitely recommended. So I think for the kind of lead position, it's the difference between the mainstream Krampus movie
Yep.
and Rare Exports A Christmas Tale, which is kind of almost our preferred go-to when it comes to Krampus.
Yeah, when you're talking Krampus, if it would be Rare Exports for me.
Yeah, I personally Rare Exports, but I think if you're new to Krampus, you want to see what Krampus is all about,
Go to Krampus.
go to Krampus 2015, the mainstream version.
And if you're familiar with Krampus, then definitely go for A Christmas Horror Story.
Definitely recommended. Mother Krampus and Krampus the Christmas Devil, yeah, you can pass on those.
Yeah,
You don't need to watch them.
unless you are a complete film nut who is happy to give up that time to watching them just so that you know you've watched them, yeah, watch them, but don't spend any money on them.
Yeah,
Please.
get them free if you
Get
can.
them free if you can, or if somebody
If anyone wants them free on DVD, comment below.
comment below.
Postage charges may apply.
Yeah, postage charges may apply. Yeah, unless you can come pick them up. Anyway, so so we're going to put rare exports top of the list.
I think so.
Okay, so let's have a rundown.
Okie dokie. In 5th place we have
Mother Krampus.
In 4th place we have
Krampus the Christmas Devil.
In 3rd place we have
A Christmas Horror Story.
In 2nd place
Krampus.
In 1st place,
Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale. Oh, that's so choice.
What a fine selection. Well,
selection.
the top three. The top three are fine selection. The other two,
we won't talk about.
We'll chuck them in the bin.
Bargain bucket bin.
Bargain bucket, yeah. See if we can give them all.
Anyway, and so that's all about Krampus. Krampusnacht. Now it's time, if I'm not mistaken, to reveal Word of the Week.
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 There we go.
Okay, so the word of the week was Sakudry.
I don't know what Sakudry is, Zach.
So, would you like to know what Sakudry is?
I would like to know what Sakudry is so that I can use Sakudry in a conversation.
So, Sakudry means arrogance or conceit in Anglo-Norman.
So if I think somebody's being arrogant or conceited, I can say, this person is very Sakudry.
That sounded very Scottish.
Sakudry.
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 If you say it, then your pronunciation doesn't need to be exact.
Okay, Sakudry.
Sakudry.
Oh, what a Sakudry type of person.
Honestly, what a... I don't know how to use that in a sentence, actually.
That person is very Sakudry.
So, we've learned all about Krampusnacht! Well, I've certainly learned a lot more about Krampus than I ever thought I really could, because all I thought was, he's just a goat man dude who whips children.
And they stick him in movies.
Yeah.
No, it's a real long-lived...
Lots of mythology there, folklore.
Paganism. And it's great. And if you've never heard of Krampusnacht, you've never heard of Krampus, I think you should. I think you should add it into your...
Festive season.
Festive season.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music and Apple Podcasts. Check out the Zak Wylde Productions social media pages on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. Please get in contact, we'd love to find out how you're listening to us. So get in touch in the comments and don't forget to check out Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon to become an official ZWP patron today. That's a big Krampusnacht. Goodbye from Zach.
And that's listen out for the bells on Krampusnacht. Goodbye from Buzz. Goodbye.
Good Krampusnacht. Ow! I'm Zach.
And I'm Buzz.
So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be ranking some of the Krampus films that we've actually seen.
That we've seen. Okay.
So,
what have we got first?
First up, Mother Krampus.
Mother Krampus.
Or Mother Krampus 2 Sleigh Ride.
Right.
Which is what we discovered when we actually put it in the DVD player.
Right. Because the actual cover actually just says Mother Krampus. Whereas, as you say, it's a sequel. But it didn't have any obvious thing. And on the cover, it depicts a lady who looks like she's come out of a TV screen.
Yeah, she kind of looks a bit Christmassy, I guess.
She's in like a Christmas outfit, like a Santa Claus outfit.
Misleading front cover, this
one. She also looks, she's in a forest, and she also looks like the thing, what's the one, the Ring, which comes out the TV screen.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine that character with a red dress on and a hood, like Red Riding Hood, has nothing to do with
Has
the movie
nothing to do
with the movie. In fact, Krampus, I believe, was never even mentioned in the movie.
No,
It's
it's just called Mother Krampus. There is
was-
no connection to Krampus whatsoever. It's really mind-boggling.
It was it was Christmas in the movie.
Yeah,
But that's it.
it's just about an escaped lunatic that
Who
kills some people. And the weird thing about it was that if you're a fan of the Halloween franchise, it looked like a Captain Kirk Halloween mask.
Yeah, it looked like they'd done
They put a wig on it.
It was basically female Michael Myers.
Yeah, but really bad.
Really bad.
So bad.
So it's okay. This is in the number one position at the moment because we haven't looked at any other movies.
We're going to have to change that pronto.
Because that is a real. How did you say it? It was a big pile of
Crapmas.
Yes. Anyway, what have we got next?
Next up, Krampus, the Christmas Devil.
Okay.
Now, notice the cover on this one. We're going to see another one in a minute.
Okay.
But the cover is somewhat looks like that.
Okay. Now I can't remember watching this one, but I don't think I've seen it for.
Now this, as opposed to Mother Krampus, actually has Krampus in it.
Okay.
And I thought this was going to be the super bad one, but then I saw Mother Krampus.
Hang on a second. Is this the one where Krampus has got somebody in a cage?
Yes.
Oh dear.
In a somewhat
Yes. In a kind of
unclothed fashion.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
It was weird because then it had Santa in it as well, but he was effing and blinding.
Yeah, he was a bad Santa.
Bad Santa.
It's Bad Santa. Bad Santa's a good movie.
Good movie.
This one isn't.
No.
Okay, so this one is now going. This seems really mad. This one's getting first place because it was actually better than Mother Krampus.
And I didn't even think that was possible.
No, Krampus the Christmas Devil is so bad, you kind of like thought it couldn't get any worse.
Yeah.
Until we watched Mother Krampus. Yeah, we'll never get that time back.
Oh dear.
Okay, so now Krampus the Christmas Devil is in first position.
Oof.
Mother Krampus is at number 2.
We're going to have to change this pronto.
Okay, so what have we got?
A classic. A Christmas horror story.
Yes.
I hear you cry out with joy.
Oh, a Christmas Horror Story. If you haven't seen the Christmas Horror Story, that is one of my favourite little Christmas gems. It has actually got William Shatner in it.
Yeah, he's playing like a DJ, and it kind of revolves around his DJ radio station. It
Yeah.
kind of acts almost as an anthology movie. It's got a couple of different things going on.
I like it because it's all set at Christmas Eve, if I'm correct.
Yeah, Christmas Eve in Bailey Downs.
Bailey Downs actually comes up in another movie.
Yeah, do you remember?
Let me think. Listeners are going to be screaming at me right now. See, that's it. It's like when you have things like Nightmare on Elm Street, which are in what's Nightmare on Elm Street? Which town's that in? Oh, I can't think. Oh, what about Halloween?
Halloween, that's Haddonfield.
Haddonfield. So you have these horror franchises that have a town that keeps recurring.
Yeah.
And Bailey Downs has come to me now. So
Yeah.
I had to keep talking to
Good. I was
drag it out there.
I was gonna. Yeah.
Ginger Snaps.
Correct.
Ginger Snaps werewolf movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
A very good trilogy of werewolf movies.
Yeah. I did enjoy them as a werewolf movie. And the two actresses that played Ginger and her sister, really
Bridget.
good. Bridget, that's it. And I liked the third movie on that one because that one was
That was a prequel.
prequel. And that
Ginger
was,
Snaps Back at the beginning.
yeah, it was Ginger Snaps
Ginger Snaps Unleashed.
and then Ginger Snaps.
Ginger
back.
Snaps Back at the beginning.
But they are in Bailey Downs.
Yes.
And this is based in
Bailey Downs. I think it was made by the same people.
It's great. But William Shatner's really good in it.
Yeah.
It's really good. And the thing is, it's is it three different
Three or
stories?
four stories.
One. Okay, yeah, because you
Got the Changeling one.
changing one. Some people in a school.
Locked in school, yeah.
You've got
The Santa.
Santa. Is there a?
Yes, it's the Krampus one where they kind of get possessed by Krampus. Do you remember that?
Yes, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
where Krampus comes into this movie.
But he's in kind of two of the stories.
Yeah, and I like the Krampus as the Krampus that is presented.
The
in
creature design is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. They've spent the money on the Krampus creature.
Unlike Krampus the Christmas Devil.
if you actually see,
He's just a guy in a
if
hood.
you actually watch Christmas Horror Story, the Krampus in that is great. It's white. It makes a change because it's a white Krampus.
Yeah.
And I do believe after watching, I think it was behind the scenes,
He's muscular.
he's a
Krampus.
really big muscle bodybuilder. And and as you say, the design was great.
I think this movie has pretty much anything you could want.
Yeah.
It's got action, horror,
And a really good twist.
Oh, that twist!
And I am not not spoiling the twist for anything, but it has got a brilliant twist that not only is like it just makes you laugh, but it's just like, oh man,
it tops it off. It tops it off.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, without a shadow of a doubt, Christmas Horror Story goes into number 1. There it is.
Okay, we're getting in.
What have we got next?
Next up,
Dun, dun, dun.
Krampus.
Now this was a big budget one, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was the kind of mainstream big budget Krampus movie.
Okay.
Now, if you look at the front cover, compared to Christmas Devil.
They've just literally almost copied the artwork.
Because I think we got Krampus the Christmas Devil first, and you thought it was that one.
Yeah.
We then later got
Krampus
the big budget version, the next year. So we were really disappointed with the Christmas Devil.
Yeah.
Thankfully,
Krampus takes it up a notch. I mean, it was a good fun movie.
I like it.
And I've watched it a couple of times.
Because Krampus in it's big.
Yeah.
He's kind of like wearing a big red hood.
Yeah,
and he kind of has like a Santa face, but the big tongue.
But he doesn't. He's not giving away too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's kind of silhouetted because he's jumping across roofs and stuff. Because they've got loads of CGI and stuff.
It's a difficult one to place now because having that one against the Christmas Horror Story. I mean, this episode is about Krampus.
Yeah.
And that film is about Krampus, whereas Christmas Horror Story has Krampus in it.
But he's on the front cover.
Yeah,
Look, the bauble.
He's in it, but he's not the main character.
That is true.
Ooh, this is a hard one.
That is tough.
Yeah.
It's definitely above Mother Krampus and A Christmas Devil.
There is a huge chasm, the chasm of Gunn Gap between Krampus, A Christmas Devil, and A Christmas Horror Story. But where were we going to put Krampus compared to the Christmas Horror Story?
I think, personally, if we're going for the horror factor, the scarier Krampus is in Krampus 2015.
Yep.
But I really do like the depiction of Krampus in A Christmas Horror Story.
But I think it's only fair to say that the whole focus of this podcast is about Krampus, and the movie Krampus is all about Krampus. Christmas Horror Story, as beloved as it is as a fantastic...
As a festive horror film...
Yeah, but it is not...
That is, like, top-notch.
But it's not solely Krampus. So, because simply we're discussing Krampus, I'm going to have to put Krampus in front of Christmas Horror Story. But...
It feels so wrong to do that, but I feel your justification is very valid on that point.
Yeah, I kind of feel A Christmas Horror Story is better in a lot of ways than to Krampus.
Mm-hmm.
But Krampus is a total Krampus
What I
movie.
really like about Christmas Horror Story is kind of that anthology style, because it's very different. You don't usually get films like that now.
Yep.
Whereas everything's more kind of the single story.
Yep. But what I do recall about Krampus, the movie, is that there's a lot of physical effects in it.
Yeah, it's got like, I think Krampus actually got like all these little minions.
Yeah, he's got like these clown type
toys and things. There's an evil gingerbread man at one point.
Yeah, it's not so much. Was there any CGI in it? Perhaps a little.
A bit when he's jumping across the roofs.
Right, but the rest of it is all physical effects.
Yeah.
And actually, I quite like that. That's very 80s, and it was very well done.
Yeah, because it's kind of almost...
And very creepy.
Yeah, because in that, it's kind of like a base under siege, but it's the family house.
Yeah, the family house. Yeah.
And they get snowed in, and it turns out that...
But the family themselves aren't a very nice family.
No, most of them have it coming.
That's why Krampus is coming to visit. You know, remember Krampus. If you hear the bells,
remember the 5th of December.
It might not be Santa. Okay, so we're going to leave it because this is a Krampus episode. Krampus is going in front of Christmas Horror Story. If I could, anyway, it's going to stay there. What have we got next?
Our final one.
Okay, out of the 10 that you found, and the 5 that we've watched.
Yeah, we're going to have to do another one next year when we've seen the other 5.
Yeah.
Final one. Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale.
Oh. Suit you, sir.
Creme de la creme.
Suit you, sir.
This is really good.
Now, this one is actually... it's Scandinavian, yeah?
Yeah.
It's a Scandinavian movie. So along the same sort of lines as Troll Hunter?
Similar.
Dead
yeah.
Snow?
Yeah, it's subtitled,
Yeah,
so
so-
it does have that.
But it does have some English speakers in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are people that speak English. So as long as you don't mind reading the subtitles and you don't find that detracts from the movie...
Which I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. But it's really, really good.
Yeah. Oh,
Really good. You said that the Krampus in the movie, all the listeners are getting, I'm saying Krampus so much. The last movie, which is called Krampus, had a gigantic Krampus in it.
yeah.
Rare Exports
Has a
has a kaiju Krampus. It's ridiculous.
Because it kind of revolves around the fact that they kind of discover this kind of ancient burial mound.
Yeah, it's like Krampus has become, the December the 5th Krampus runs festival kind of thing. That it's a thing which is become a tradition, but everybody actually has forgotten the reality behind it.
Yeah.
And then they accidentally discover the reality behind it.
Well, that's the thing. They think they have captured Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They do. Now, that might sound comical in a way, but they think they have, but they haven't.
It's the way it's presented is so creepy.
Yeah, it's for me, what gets me is the elves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Elves.
Because that's it. They think it's Santa, but they're actually the elves.
The elves are old men,
Yeah.
and they think that that's Santa.
Yeah.
Because
there's loads of them.
people have this preconception of that Santa is
A bearded old man.
bearded old man, and it's not. They are old, naked men actually.
Yeah.
But they are so creepy.
So creepy. They just kind of stare at you.
And then they find Krampus.
They can smell the blood of children.
They can smell children. You see, that's what kind of reanimates.
Because they kind of
them.
kidnap
'Cause they-
the
yeah.
children and everything.
Oh man, it's a good movie, that one.
Makes you want to watch it, doesn't it?
But the thing is, it's the star of the movie is the little boy,
Yeah.
and he has been in what was that Samuel L. Jackson movie?
Big Game.
Big Game. And I think he's been in several movies. That little lad.
Since this, yeah.
Yeah, and he does a fantastic job, and I love he's got his little toy. Whoopee.
It looks like it's kind of like a furry bag
Yeah, on a string.
that he drags across the floor. It's so cute. It's so cute.
Come with me, Whoopee. I want a Whoopee.
Yeah. There you
I
go.
should have a Christmas Whoopee.
We talked about budget Christmas this year.
Yeah. Well, budget Christmas. We're having Imagination Christmas.
I've got a pogo stick.
I've got a Hulu.
Woohoo! Imagination Christmas.
Yay!
That was a Simpsons reference.
That's right. It's because everybody's got no money this year. Got to think about paying the bills. So anyway, Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale. Totally a Krampus movie.
Totally a Krampus movie. Definitely recommended. Definitely recommended. So I think for the kind of lead position, it's the difference between the mainstream Krampus movie and Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale, which is kind of almost our preferred go-to when it comes to Krampus.
Yeah, when you're talking Krampus, if it would be Rare Exports for me.
Yeah, I personally Rare Exports, but I think if you're new to Krampus, you want to see what Krampus is all about,
Go to Krampus.
go to Krampus 2015, the mainstream version.
And if you're familiar with Krampus, then definitely go for A Christmas Horror Story.
Definitely recommended. Mother Krampus and Krampus the Christmas Devil. Yeah, you can pass on those.
Yeah,
you don't need to watch them.
unless you are a complete film nut who is happy to give up that time to watching them just so that you know you've watched them. Yeah, watch them, but don't spend any money on them.
Yeah,
Please.
get them free if you
Get
can.
them free if you can, or if somebody
If anyone wants them free on DVD, comment below.
comment below.
Postage charges may apply.
Yeah, postage charges may lie. Yeah, unless you can come pick them up. Anyway, so so we're going to put Rare Exports top of the list.
I think so.
Okay, so let's have a rundown.
Okie dokie. In 5th place we have.
Mother Krampus.
In 4th place we have.
Krampus the Christmas Devil.
In 3rd place we have.
A Christmas Horror Story.
In 2nd place.
Krampus.
In 1st place.
Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale. Oh, that's so choice.
What a fine selection. Well,
selection.
the top three. The top three are fine selection. The other two,
we won't talk about.
we'll chuck them in the bin.
Bargain bucket bin.
Bargain bucket, yeah. That's a big Krampusnacht. Goodbye from Zach.
And that's listen out for the bells on Krampusnacht. Goodbye from Buzz. Goodbye.
Good Krampusnacht! Hello and welcome back to the Now We Know Show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest and by the end we will have learned something new and hopefully you will too. I'm Zach.
I'm Buzz.
I'm Jack.
Yay!
Jack's back!
Yeah, I'm back.
It's Jack, Prepper Jack.
Yeah, Prepper Jack.
Prepper Jack. We've got him back in the studio. So in this week's episode, we're getting real festive. We've all got our Santa's hats on and we are basically
Channeling Santa.
Santa.
The Christmas spirit.
Yeah, with our big ginger beards.
Yep, everyone has ginger beards.
Yeah, we are our good old Viking Norse Santas.
Ho, ho,
ho,
ho.
ho, ho. And we are looking, since we're so festive, we're looking at our top 10 list of gifts that you can give to the holy trinity of preppers, bushcrafters and survivalists.
If you enjoy the Now We Know Show podcast, why not support Zak Wylde Productions on our Patreon page? Become an official ZWP patron for as little as £1 a month for exclusive early access to all our latest episodes, videos, behind the scenes, updates and more. Okay, so before we get into that, it's time for Word of the Week.
Oh, Word of the Week. Word of the Week.
Word of the Week. Word of the Week.
Joining, Jack? Word of the Week. Word of the Week. Word of the Week. Word of the Week.
So, the Word of the Week.
Sorry, Jack. We sort of jumped that on, Jack, didn't we?
So, Word of the Week is all about Old English words we don't use anymore. All you have to do is write down what you think it means in the comments. We will then reveal what it means at the end of the episode so you can find out if you got it right.
What's the Word of the Week this week, Zach?
The Word of the Week is crepuscular.
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 Jack's looking a bit puzzled on that one.
Do you know what crepuscular means?
Do you know what crepuscular means?
I have no idea what
I'm
crepuscular
gonna,
means.
The challenge is to, 1, know what crepuscular means, 2, get it into a sentence.
Crepuscular is spelt C-R-E-P-U-S-C-U-L-A-R.
Crepuscular.
No Googling.
Yeah, no Googling is against the rules.
We will reveal what crepuscular means at the end of the episode.
That's all I'm going to think about for the whole episode.
Go on, say it, Jack.
Crepuscular!
Huzzah!
Yay. So, with Word of the Week out of the way for the moment, let's turn our attention to what we're doing. That is Crimbo presents, Christmas, Winterfest, Yule, call it what you will, for, as I mentioned, the holy trinity of preppers, bushcrafters and survivalists. Because you can't have one without the other generally. If you're a prepper, then you're bound to be into your bushcraft. If you're a bushcrafter, you're into your survivalism. If you're a survivalist, you're probably into your prepping.
Camping, stuff like that.
Exactly. So we've got this holy trinity, as I like to call it, of those areas. And if you know somebody who, they might be somebody who's been into those things for years, or they might be just starting out and would appreciate a gift this Yuletide.
Something, a treat.
Exactly, a treat. And so kind of what we've done is put together, I don't know what's on your lists, guys.
We've all got lists.
You've got our Santa's list.
Christmas lists.
Exactly. What I asked you to do was to write down your top 10 items that you would think about gifting somebody, with the only parameters on it that, because everybody's cash strapped at the moment everywhere, is to make sure that it was more of a kind of budget price gift. It doesn't mean that that's, a piece of tat.
It has to be reasonable.
Yeah, but you're not. What I did want you to do is to, as Jack said, stick down a Jackery power pack, for 250 quid, or
Good grief.
a set of solar panels and battery bank
All
and
the Jackery stuff I get advertised and sent towards me is like £2,500.
£1,000.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, money wouldn't be an option.
Exactly. So we're looking on like budget things that you can give to somebody. And what I also did was I went onto social media sites and I chose 2 social media sites which I find very helpful in the past, because if you have questions and things, you can bounce it off people. So I put the question out to those 2 Facebook pages, and basically got a lot of interest back, a lot of ideas off people as well. So that's our fourth list, if you like.
Okay. So in total, it'd be like 40 items?
Yeah, so we've got ours. So what we'll do is we'll do it in reverse from what we've listed down as our 10th and work our way back, and also look at the lists and see if there's a corresponding items that have been suggested, or items maybe on that list that aren't on our lists that we haven't thought about. Yeah?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. But what I will say, when it comes to Christmas, Yule, Winterfest, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to buying gifts for somebody who does prepping, bushcraft or survivalism, there is no such thing, and I'm going to stress this. There's a lot of people will say, oh, I don't want to get them something because they've probably already got it. Yeah? That is the wrong attitude.
Yeah.
When it comes to
I would
this,
agree.
you can literally buy somebody 10 times over the same thing, and they're going to say, thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
I've got
much.
some spares.
Because I've got spares, especially like if it's a tin of beans. 10 tins of beans.
What's that saying?
There's a saying that we always use in the bushcraft and survivalism areas, and that is, 2 is 1, 1 is none. Because if you've got 2 items, say 2 knives, 2 ways of lighting a fire, if you break one or lose one, you've still got one. So 2 is 1. But if you only have 1 and you lose it, 1 is none.
I have a similar sort of thing that my friend told me when playing Warhammer is, if it's worth taking 1, take 2.
There you go. So we working on that principle. Listeners, you can't go wrong. Don't scratch your head and think, oh, yeah, they've probably got one of these things. It doesn't matter. It really, honestly, it doesn't matter. How many knives can you accidentally buy someone?
The ideal number of knives.
Exactly.
N plus 1.
Exactly. We're talking about bushcraft knives, obviously.
Infinite knives.
Infinite knives. That's already one bit of stress off your shoulders. Okay, so should we throw ourselves into it? Because I'm sure the listeners are eager to find out, and I'm eager to find out what you've got on your top 10s list. So we'll just start off from number 10. Who wants to go first?
Okay, I'm going to go first.
Okay.
A life straw.
Oh, you've put that down at number 10. Okay, that's
so
fine.
A life straw is basically a water filter, which means you can drink water from a river, a pond,
Anywhere.
I mean, even a toilet.
Okay, so
Wouldn't advise it.
but I think people have done that to demonstrate them.
Oh, fair
But
enough.
interesting thing about the life straw. Now, you can get all sorts of Sawyer minis, all sorts of different filter systems out there, and they are very good. And going back to the last podcast about prepping, and we will go over this subject with you, Jack, you did bring up one of the big issues with your family, being a big family unit, was requiring fresh water.
Yes.
And what was the estimate you had on how much water you
I
need?
think it was something like 1,000 litres for all of us for a month.
1,000 litres for a month. Right, so you mentioned life straw.
Yeah.
By all means, in case I've got the figures wrong, I'm sure I haven't, off the top of my head. And you do get, now life straw is a bit like saying doing the hoovering. Okay, you might be using a Dyson, but I'm just doing the hoovering, darling. It's a word that, yes, there are life straws, but there are also similar ones by other companies, and they all have variations on their filtering.
Well, my thoughts behind it were the fact that water is one of the key things you need for survival. So I thought it's pretty cheap.
Okay, well,
You might need it.
That's right. So the life straws come in around about, depending on the make and brand, because I say there's different ones. I think they can range from about £10 to £25 for
Precisely,
a life
it's
straw.
an affordable thing.
And the reason I bring it up about the question about water, Jack, is because they usually range between 1,000 litres that the filter's good for and 4,000 litres, I think is the brand name life straw. The great thing with the life straws is, as well as what it's, that there's a clue in the name. You can literally stick it in your gob and suck through it out of a river, out of a puddle.
A muddy puddle, yeah.
Muddy puddle. Or they have a thread on them, which is universal thread, which fits all fizzy drinks bottles. All fizzy drink. Yeah, have you ever you ever lost a cap off a fizzy drink bottle and you've used a different lid?
Yep.
It fits because they're all a standard size. So you can literally get a 2-litre Coke bottle, fill that up with dirty water, screw the life straw on the top, squeeze it, and pour out fresh water out the other end. But it'll give you that 1,000 litres off one life straw.
Yep.
I mean, to be honest, would it last longer? Possibly.
What?
Well, it's guaranteed for like that much water.
Yeah,
But
I mean, you have to backwash the filter and things, but that's why a lot of backpackers will use them if they're touring out in the Far East and things, because it's always dodgy drinking water from places. So take a life straw. But so that's your number 10. Over to Jack.
On my number 10, I put cooking pots.
Cooking pots. That's a good idea. So, have you any range you have in mind?
Well, it was just not really. It was just I've seen them about and they are useful and they get damaged and.
Okay, so we're talking kind of your hanger pot over the fire type of cooking pots. Are we talking your collapsible?
I put most of my things down as a general
thing.
So if you know the person. You know what sort of things they like and styles and things. You'll probably be able to find something that fits their needs,
because you get variations. You can go from your kind of small little mini canteen kits that all go together and things.
Now, wasn't last year for Christmas I got you a cooking pot? Funny enough.
You did actually.
What was that?
It is a brand name that I can't think off the top of my head what it is. It's going to come to. It's got Red Label. Any bushcrafters out there will probably know what it is.
But that's kind of like a small to medium sized pot.
It was a medium sized one. That's got a folding handle, which means that you can improvise. If you haven't got a stand, obviously you can go and cut some hazelwood, whatever, make a hook, hang it over your fire.
So what was one of the reasons you wanted that?
Well, when I'm by myself out and about, I tend to like my Crusader kit, which is got its small little cooker stand. It's got one steel cup for cooking in, a plastic cup to go with it as well for hot beverages, and that does me as a single, keeping minimum kit down, just real minimum kit. But sometimes it's nice to have a bigger pot that you can make bannock in, or you can do a stew in, or something like that, but that is not oversized. And again, they come in at a good sort of budget price. So pots and pans, good idea.
Good choice.
Do you know what I've got on mine?
No, I don't know.
Okay, so come in. I've got a woolen blanket. See, a good old-fashioned...
That's a sensible choice.
A good old-fashioned woolen blanket.
I need that this winter with the blackouts.
There you go. You can't go wrong with a woolen blanket.
Oh, no, and we're telling the future now on the Now We Know Show podcast.
And going back to what we said right at the beginning, you can't have enough woolen blankets.
That's true.
If you want to keep warm, layer up.
Exactly.
I go through my cupboard at home every now and then, the airing cupboard upstairs, and think, I must get rid of some stuff. And I look at it all and I get it all out and I go, I might need all this, and a lot of it's blankets. And I'm like, I've got 6 people in this house. If the power goes out, or it becomes a bitterly cold winter, we're going to need blankets.
Yep, you got it.
So my blanket number 10, live straw, pots and pans, blanket. We're already building up a nice little store here for anybody. I'm going to go to the list that I got off of social media, and what I've done is, as they came in, individuals gave me a suggestion. I just put that down, one after another. Can't really break it up into a top 10, so I'll just keep reading one off every time. So the first one that came in on that was life straw.
Ha! Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Do we get like a snap point for that?
We're not giving out points. We're not giving out points. We're giving out good suggestions to the listeners.
Yes.
Okay. So we've got the live straw already came in there.
Yay.
Right, so we are going to move on to our number 9.
Number 9.
Are we going to stay on the same round?
Let's go the same way.
Okay, same way. Okay, it's small. A British Army penknife. Specifically for its tin opener.
Very nice. Have you ever had?
No, not.
Right. Well, I'm familiar because I've got several of them. It's kind of enough. No, the British Army penknife, very basic, simple penknife, all steel. It's not got a fancy handle or anything on it. It has got a marlin spike on it, which is the spikes that people always say that are on penknives for getting stones out of horses' hooves, when in fact what they're there are for loosening knots. The whole idea of that spike, I mean, you can use it like a bradawl for making holes in things, but ideally what they're designed for is to get, if you get real tight, you've got cold fingers, you can't get a knot apart. Undo your shoe. You get the spike in and it just eases the knot apart. Oh, it's beautiful having one of those. But the other benefit, as you just said, with it, let's more than just one benefit, but the other benefit is it's got one of the best bottle openers going. Bottle openers, tin openers.
Yeah.
Probably well, you could open a bottle with it.
You can open anything with it. The blooming claw on it. It's huge.
It's one of those kind of hooked beaked tin openers.
Yeah, you usually find it on like a penknife.
Yeah,
of some kind.
lots of penknives. It's the standard kind of one you have on most penknives.
Like a Swiss Army knife.
But if you get a Swiss Army knife, they tend to be very small,
tiny little
tiny ones. Whereas the British Army knife penknife is just
means the business.
It means the business. You could open anything with that. You got a Frey Bentos spy, you're going to get straight into that.
Cans,
it's also
tanks.
it's also got a little sort of like straight-ended screwdriver or pry on the end of it, which is handy for prying.
The marlin spike.
I need to see one of these.
The tin opener.
I'll show you one after the show.
The little screw bit you just mentioned.
Yeah, but also the blade.
Knife.
Now, this is the other big bonus that I like about it. It's not a lock knife, okay, and the blade is 3 inches long, which comes into a legal carry.
Is that not an inch too long? I thought
no, 3 inches. 3 inches and non-lockable. And it's also got what's known as a sheepfoot point on it, which means instead of having your standard kind of pointy end, it's cut off at quite a steep angle.
Okay.
So it would be pretty no good for stabbing somebody with.
Right.
You turn around and use the
marlin
spike.
We're not advising that.
Not
advising that at all.
No. But as a pocket knife that is a legal carry, it's
a pretty good choice.
It's a good choice. So there you go. It's a very multi-purpose. Again, cheap to purchase because you can go to places,
army surplus
stores, and pick them up second hand, which are in perfect condition.
Yeah.
So again,
and sometimes they even come in with little names scratched into them.
That's cool. Whoever's owned it.
I think mine's from Dave.
Cheers, Dave.
So Jack, your number 9.
Right, my number 9 was a cooking kit / spice kit, which just handy to have to make all your meals a bit more interesting. Not just spicy, but
No, that's really
salt
good.
and pepper and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
You
that
can
is
buy
really good.
kits of those.
You obviously can go out and get your standard. What's the company that make a lot of those? Schwarzkopf, those kind of spices. But you can collect smaller containers from other things, can't you? And then transfer the spice over, so you can have a lot of different choice, but in a smaller
Is this
space.
the Samwise Gamgee seasoning?
Yeah, exactly. That's
exactly.
it. Yeah.
You need a nice little wooden box that you can put your own seasoning in.
Come on, Mr. Frodo, catch it!
What a brilliant suggestion.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
I think that was from James Fake.
Right. Thank you, James. You actually threw a memory into my mind then from years ago when Zach was just a wee lad. And you were in I think it would have been it was before you were in the... No, actually, I don't even know if you were in the Scouts by that time or the Cub Scouts. You were very small, but myself and your mum, Tina, we used to help out Scout leaders. We went on one of these, I think it was a father and son weekend with the Scouts. Where we were a place called Faisal's Wood near Watford. And you just... I've forgotten all about this until you mentioned it. One of the fathers of, obviously one of the Cub Scouts, he was a chef. And he brought a little plastic toolbox with him. But in that toolbox, he had exactly what you said. A whole range of different spices and his knife kit. So when it came to doing breakfast, because they would do competitions over the weekend, the best breakfasts and the best thing, and all the kids and the fathers would cook for all the leaders.
Right.
And so whoever got that father as the person cooking the dinner with their son, they had tomatoes which were like made into swans and roses.
Oh, really? Pulling out all the stops.
You get all the vegetables out and cut them all into all this. All the other fathers are going
Michelin star breakfast.
But that's all they were doing the entire weekend, right?
Yeah, it was brilliant. But yeah, spot on. Yeah, that was a good weekend. But spices, why not? Which comes then to me. What's my number 9? Small stove.
Just cooking
small stove. What I had in mind with that is you can get lovely little fireboxes which are just collapsible. They can either fold out. A lot of bushcrafters will know what I'm talking about. They fold out, or they are made in sections that slot together. And it's a little firebox that you do exactly that. You use tinder wood, and feed your wood in there. So it's a lovely little firebox. I use them myself, so you can have a real open fire, but it's contained and it's safe, when you're out and about. Or the alternative, small gas cooker, if you just want to have the ease of having gas. But both items are budget price. They're not going to cost you an arm and leg. And again, I don't think it's something that anybody's going to turn around and say, oh, I've already got one of those.
Yeah. What if the first one breaks?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
what if you want to cook 2 things at once?
however, it does remind me of, again, something from last Preppers podcast.
Yep.
So if you haven't listened to it, listeners, go and listen to the previous podcast. It was mentioned the blackout box, and you said you had a solid fuel stove in it. We had a comment on that one mentioning that you shouldn't use those indoors. We obviously weren't inferring to use it indoors, but it was a good point.
Yep.
So I just wanted to bring that up. If you do have anything like I just mentioned, a folding firebox or solid fuel outside. Obviously, if you've got a little gas cooker, that's a lot safer. And you can use that
if you have a little fireplace, could you use it in that?
If you had an open fireplace, obviously no problem at all, because you normally have an open fire.
You're probably not using the cooker.
Oh, there you go.
You're probably saying, why have I got this tiny little fireplace?
Wait a second. Can I have saved myself some more money?
I could just literally have a fire. So brilliant. So, now it's over to the list that I had. So coming back down, so we've had the live straw. The next one was dry bags.
Yeah, they could be useful.
Yeah, they could be very useful. You know, I mean, everybody needs dry bags.
Well, when do we use dry bags?
Oh gosh, we use them all the time. If we're going out bushcrafting, always put stuff into dry bags, because you want to keep your wet clothes separate from your dry clothes. You want to keep your dry clothes dry, just in case you get any leakage in backpacks.
Well, thinking of specific situations when we go canoeing,
when we go
paddleboarding and stuff like that.
Exactly, canoeing, paddleboarding, and I use a dry bag which doubles up as a drag float.
Yeah.
When we go wild swimming. Do you know what I'm talking about there, Jack?
Yeah, attached to your foot.
Yeah, it's attached around your waist. On your foot, it'd be a bit, you'd be worried about tangling up around your other ankle. But it's attached to your waist, drags behind you. It notifies other people that are using, say, boats, or especially around the coast where they're using a lot of
jet skis.
That's it. They can see the orange things. But
better not drive over that.
Yeah, but our original drag floats were exactly that, just floats. And they're quite handy, because we do, when we get the chance, coastal swimming. So we choose a spot on the coast to park up, and then we'll put our wetsuits on, because you need wetsuits to be in there all day, and we'll literally swim, say, 5 miles down the coast, exploring the caves, exploring the cliffs, hidden
places
beaches.
You can't normally get to.
Places you can't normally get to, and you need a wetsuit, and obviously we have the dry bags, the drag floats with us, and then hit the coastal path and walk back, because we have our dive boots on, so you can walk back along the coastal path to where you originally parked. It's a day out, great fun. But there was always the issue of, you got your car keys,
phones,
all these things, and
then deal with that.
And then, hurrah! They started designing drag floats, which were actually also a dry bag.
Yeah.
So you could put all your stuff in the dry bag and then blow it up. Job done. So dry bag, drag float.
There you go.
There you go.
On to my number 8 now, I guess.
Number 8, yeah, go for it.
Okie dokie. My number 8, simple one but effective. A torch.
Torch. Awesome.
I'd be very happy if someone bought me a torch for
Yep.
Christmas.
Again, an item you can't have too many of. Head torch is my favourite type of torch.
Especially when bat surveying.
Yeah, I mean, when we do bat surveys, and good point you bring that up, actually, because have you got head torch, Jack?
I actually don't yet. I'm
okay, put
in
it
the
on
market for one.
Put it on Jack's Christmas list. So, a head torch. I think we briefly discussed it, because you can get head torches which are battery powered. Well, they're all battery powered, but head torches which you put batteries in, or head torches which are USB chargeable.
That was the problem I had when looking for one the other day. Was most of them are USB rechargeable.
See,
now.
that's the thing. I still. I mean, by all means, listeners, comment below about any you might recommend that are USB chargeable. But I find the fact is, if you're stuck and you kind of run out of any way of recharging it,
especially if it's like power sockets or anything.
Yeah, you have to be very forward thinking. I mean, even with
if you've got like a big battery somewhere that you can plug in,
battery bank that you can recharge it off of, or if you've got your vehicle,
it's kind of adding extra links into that chain, isn't it?
Yeah. Whereas if you've got a simple battery one and you've got some spare batteries, and you can pick batteries up most places,
should be sorted for a couple of days.
Also, it takes you 2 seconds to change a battery, rather than having to wait 4 hours to charge it up
That's
again.
that's a good comparison, actually. Yeah.
But there is another factor to them, and that is there are generally most of them are white light, red light, and red blinking light. I was actually asked why do they blink, and that is just an international emergency signal that it's red blink. So if you were
help, I'm on a mountain.
Yeah, I'm on a mountain. If you set it to red blinking, it's kind of an internationally recognised thing.
Warning, go away. Danger is here. No, come back.
Come back.
It was the other setting.
Yes, it's the other setting. However, because we do bat surveys, there are ones you can get now that have a green light. Okay. And I actually find the green light for when you've got things in front of you.
Yeah, like writing on a bit of paper.
The red light, kind of up close and personal, kind of does my eyes in a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of hard focus. Green light.
Green one.
Beautiful.
Brilliant.
Really, I would highly recommend green light head torch.
The red light's not to affect night vision, isn't it? So you can turn it off and you can still see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the green works.
Does the green do the same?
I haven't had any issues with that because, as I say, when you're doing bat surveys, dawns and dusks, you're using your monitoring equipment anyway. You're using your visual, to see if you can see the bats when they're out and about, and then when it gets so dark that you're on that cusp, you can or can't see them, then you're focusing on the monitoring equipment that you're using to hear the bats, but you want to keep your lights off, but then when you pop the green one on to write, I don't find any sudden issues with once I've turned it off again that it's affected the vision.
I suppose if you're looking at the screens and things, then maybe it's that you've already.
Yeah, but anyway, green. Yeah. Try it as an option
cool.
if you haven't got one. Green. So
that was number 8 for me.
That was number 8 for you, right? So it's over to Jack then for his number 8.
So my number 8 was your last one, which was camping stoves.
Hey, that was yours.
Was it yours?
Yes, it's
which I also put. If you want to be a bit more extravagant, Kelly kettles. They're quite pricey, but
well, I do have a Kelly kettle, and although I tend to use it just for boiling larger quantities of water, separate from my cooking for making our brew. A friend of ours, Sarah Downing, do you know Sarah? She uses the base. She's got an adapter for the base so you can take the actual top kettle off and use the base as just a cooker on its own.
Okay,
that's cool.
Yeah. So Kelly kettle.
There you go.
Yeah, would another one kind of be like a Trangia or something, a Trangia kit?
Yeah, Trangia kit, because we've got a couple of those knocking around. They're the ones that are like you got a frying pan on the top. What is it? Two different size saucepans in there.
Yeah.
An outer one, which isn't a saucepan, that's kind of like you put your Trangia in it, it's a windshield.
Yeah.
There's usually a kind of a donut ring as well, which sits on top of it.
Tell you what, the most handy aspect
I know where he's going with
of the Trangia kit is the handle.
The handle. Have you ever seen a Trangia handle? It's kind of like a crocodile jaw.
Yeah, that when you hold it, it clamps
on.
So
the actual saucepans don't have handles.
Right.
They've got a little rolled edge on them, and this handle just goes over the top, and you pinch it like pliers, and you can transfer things around. But they're just great for picking up.
Get rid of the Trangia, just use the handle on literally anything. Tin of beans, overflyer, done.
Tin of beans, anything, that's a really handy handle.
We recently just bought some of those handles because I didn't know.
I went into Trangia and the handle disappeared.
And I didn't know that you could actually get them separately. So
there's a tip.
Extra recommendation there.
Yeah, if you just the handle.
Just the handle. Just the handle.
Just the
handle. Other stuff, that's luxury extra.
Luxury extra, yeah. So there you go. Then you get again back to the budget. Forget the rest of the Trangia, just get the handle. And of course, the other part of the Trangia is the actual Trangia cooker, which again you can buy separately, which are you can use methylated spirits or you can use the biofuels in them. And again, they're pretty handy. They actually fit in most of the Crusader, British Army Crusader cooking kits and things. A lot of this stuff is interchangeable. Going back to the folding firebox that I mentioned, again, if you don't want to have an open fire by using wood in them, you can put a little Trangia stove in them. Most of them will fit the Trangia stove all right, so you can cook over that. So a lot of this stuff is quite multi-purposed.
Good stuff.
Good suggestion, that one. My number 8 is supermarket vouchers.
Interesting.
I have received those as a present before. They were useful.
Well, I was thinking about this. A lot of people, a bit strapped for cash.
I'm interested to see your justification for this.
Well, one of the things that a lot of people that prep do like to stock up on their food. They want to go and buy tins and buy this and buy that.
What you've done is buy them free food of
So
their
what you've
own
done,
choice.
you just say, okay, I might not know exactly what to get you.
Okay, so this would probably be in like reference to pre-apocalyptic situation.
Well,
It would help them to prep for an apocalyptic situation.
yeah.
Okay, I get that
Just
reason.
if you think that somebody, if you really got that kind
Because
of...
as soon as it gets to like apocalyptic situation, I don't think they're going to be accepting vouchers.
or
I think
gold.
most people are going to be screwed anyway because they won't be accepting cards. No one carries cash anymore.
Which actually does throw up a thing, because there was an article that came on, I think it was in Kent, that a prepper had his house raided. Or the chap,
Oh, I saw this.
yeah, he'd had his house
That was
raided.
today, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the article wasn't huge, so it didn't really give you the details. But the police had raided this person's house, and he would have seemed to have been kind of, from reading the article, it seemed like he was maybe fortifying his house or doing something. But there was no actual reason given in the article, an exact reason of why his house had been raided by the police. But the police raided his house and found that he had an illegal, unlicensed sawn-off shotgun behind his fridge. But he also had something like, I think it was 6 or more legally owned guns in gun cabinets.
Yeah, didn't they say like crossbows and things?
Yeah, but he... And,
I mean, I can see my crossbow from here.
The reason I mentioned you saying about the apocalypse is because the reporter who'd obviously written the article was very unfair on preppers.
Yeah.
Because
it was the wording, wasn't it?
It was the wording, because
It wasn't great.
the chap in court was asked by the judge, are you a prepper? As if that's some kind of weird thing. Are you a prepper? You know? And
because it kind of suggested they were paranoid.
Yeah. Well, he was given. He's meant to be going to another court hearing about the possession of the illegal firearms, but he's had all his other firearms given back to him because they're all legal, which seems a bit weird. But he himself said that he's not out to hurt anybody or anything like that. But the article made out that he had a secret room and he had tins of food stored away. Yes,
Tins of food in a cupboard? Oh, shock horror!
They weren't in the cupboard, they were under the floor.
No. But ultimately, the reporter described it that he's a member of a small eccentric group of preppers who
live in fear
of
societal breakdown,
societal collapse, and natural disasters. And it's like, no, preppers. That's not prepping.
I said this to my wife Amy. I said, look at this, and she went, well, that's the opposite of what a prepper is. If anything, they're not scared of it because they're prepared for it.
I know, and
Yes.
also you've seen so many programs on the moment saying, make sure you're prepared for cold weather coming.
Yeah.
Make sure you get this. Make sure
But they won't call you preppers.
They won't call them preppers, but they're advising everybody to be preppers.
Yeah, let's resort to the old ways.
Yes, don't get raided to find you've got food in your cupboard.
Yeah, exactly.
Stored tins. You're obviously one of those eccentric.
Like they're having
what
programs,
it was?
yeah.
It was the sawn-off shotgun, and he had the weaponized tins of food. That's what it was. This one is too far gone, and it's for the trebuchet.
There you go. That was a reference to the other episode.
Exactly.
Because aren't they having like TV programs and
don't
stuff?
get me wrong. If he's done something
Yeah.
illegal and he's being picked up by it, then that's the law and needs to be dealt with. But the whole inferring that anybody that is a prepper is some kind of weird eccentric that lives, as you said, Jack, in fear.
And then on the other side, they're having like TV programs where it's like, if you get cold, put on a blanket.
Put on a blanket. Buy some extra blankets.
As if
The blanket
somebody
you got as a gift
don't
from
know.
our top 10 list.
if they don't know how to keep warm. Like, come on.
So yeah, mine was supermarket things, because that way somebody, if they want to stock up their food stores, but you don't know exactly, they might have, say, a food that they don't like or they could be allergic to. So it gives them the opportunity to enjoy a shopping trip out and buy themselves some stuff for their food stores, or use those vouchers for something else. But I would really think if I got vouchers for a supermarket, that it's probably foodstuffs I'd be looking to buy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there you go. So now let's refer to the next one on the list from social media, and that's hot water bottle. Well, hot water bottle and blankets, but we'll go hot water bottle because I've already mentioned blankets.
Several times.
So, hot water bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with a hot water bottle.
Just way of keeping warm.
Exactly. I think people, they could do a brew in it as well.
Yeah, as long as
have it later on.
As long as you've got a way of heating up the water,
Exactly.
you're good.
On one of the small stoves we've spoken about, using the water filter.
Using the trangia.
The live straw, exactly.
Yeah, it's all fitting together.
Yeah, so thank you for that
It's
one.
almost like we know what we're talking about.
Thank you, Jane Edwards, for that suggestion. Right, which brings us to, we're getting down our Christmas list now.
Yeah, my number 7.
Your number 7.
Okay, this is a bit big one.
Oh.
Army surplus backpack.
Yeah, a lot of people do ask the questions.
Yeah, you got to have somewhere to store all your stuff,
Yeah, I mean, if you're
especially if you're out and about.
yeah, if you're doing wild camping,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing bushcraft, you want to go out, it doesn't have to be on a regular basis, but you still need to carry your gear. Then you're going to need a backpack of some sort. Some of them can be exceedingly expensive.
I have noticed.
Yeah, but if you want something that is because I've got British Army.
It's got to be versatile and durable.
Exactly. So I've got ex-Army.
I think
packs.
ex-Army is basically the way to go, because as soon as you go into something like go outdoors or something,
Most of those.
I've tried like a Van Gogh hiking backpack several times. They've always broken because it's always
the plastic clips.
But it's supposed to be the
durable.
highest of qualities, and it breaks them the first time you go hiking. It's like, what? That's ridiculous.
Whereas my old Army one is just like.
I think
I think I've
Isn't-
got a 30-year-old Army one.
Isn't mine like a however many litre?
Yeah, yours is the
engineer one
Yours
or
is the
something?
turtle. The
No,
turtle
have you got the
backpack.
square one?
Yeah.
It
You got
fits
the
as a big square a toolbox. It's for carrying those. Is that one?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and whereas I've got the standard
Yeah.
backpack, and with and of course you get the
External pouches.
You
Yeah.
get the external zip-on and off pouches, which you also can get the separate yoke.
Yeah.
You can put those pouches on.
That is
Makes
one
it-
of my extras on the list. I've put pouches.
Makes it look like a jetpack.
Okay, yeah. So you get jetpack. In fact, the last time I used that is when we went to go caving in Wales. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
And we went on a real big cave system down there where
Spent an entire day underground.
I needed because we were underground all day. Needed to take a pack lunch. Didn't want to take a big backpack, so I just popped the side pockets off the pouches off the
Few
side.
clips.
That's
Are
it.
these,
Backpack.
are these
As-
caves you can stand up in, or are these the
No, no, no.
fear-inducing caves that I've seen online where people
Actually-
are squeezing through them? I'm like, there's no way I'd get back
I
through that
can't-
if I went through that way.
I can't,
It varied sometimes.
I can't remember the name. I can't remember.
Claustrophobic just watching.
Can't remember the name of it.
It was in Wales.
Yeah, maybe some of it was natural cave system, but the majority of it was a slate mine.
Yeah.
But it was an old slate mine that is. I think it takes you down to the deepest place you can get to.
I'd love to go down there, but I think I would freak out.
But it was well done because
It was the great bits.
a lot of it was
where
a
you're like
combination of
stepping
scrambling.
through the water, balancing on that kind of balance beam.
Yeah, we got right down to the lowest part. We couldn't go any lower. And I say we were in there for
So it's
seven
like,
hours.
don't step down there. There's a big hole.
But
You'll
what,
get swept under.
yeah, because
Okay, I
would've-
guess I won't do that.
back in the day, they had pumps that kept the water getting pumped out. But obviously, it's not. It's abandoned as a
You
mine
just got
now.
a big abyss in front of you, and you're just like,
Okay.
That goes
I love
down a
looking
bit.
at it, but the videos give me claustrophobia when I'm watching them.
Yeah, but they'd actually put some scaffold poles that you could step on the scaffold poles, which are about an inch or two under the water.
yeah.
That you could like balance your way across.
Yeah, you're going to have to hold onto this chain and kind of just make your way.
Shimmy your way.
You have to duck a bit here and kind of.
And then every so often we get to a chasm which they'd already put a
zip line or
line
something in.
across, and then you'd hook yourself on the zip line and literally disappear off into the dark.
Into the
Sounds
nothing.
Incredible.
And then we were down there 7 hours.
Isn't it like the longest zip wire underground? I think we went.
I couldn't tell you on that, but we had that jump at the end.
Yeah. Oh,
So
that was the extreme part.
it finished off at the end. Now I climb, Zach climbs, and it's kind of I'm not scared of heights when I know I'm secure. If you take me to the edge of a building or the edge of a cliff and I've got no, I'm not secure, then I
get that.
get the collywobbles.
Yep, I
you
love
know?
climbing,
But
yeah.
if I know my anchor points are true, I'm hooked on.
All good.
I'm happy to
I feel
abseil off
secure.
of anything.
Yeah.
you know?
I'll lean off this. It's
I'll lean
fine.
off it. I'll abseil, go forwards, abseiling, whatever, not a problem. But if I'm not connected to anything, I don't like that.
I've climbed things not connected to things, and I'd rather climb something where I know I'm holding onto something solid. I've got big racks at work, and rather than go and get the ladder, I'll just climb them, and you're good 18 feet up in the air or whatever. And I would rather climb up the rack knowing I'm holding onto a solid rack that I built, rather than use the ladder that I know could fall over.
But wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was a leap
we
of faith,
knew
yeah.
at the end of the day we were going to get to this place called the Leap of Faith. and it was a little plank that was into this abyss, and it's pitch black.
You can't see the bottom.
And I think it was
thinking about
I think it was about 100-foot drop
Yeah.
into this place, and they'd got one of those self-breaking cables,
An auto
I hate
belay.
those
an,
things.
an auto beat. Yeah, I don't like.
They're a bit dodgy.
But you see, in my mind, I'd got in my mind that I would hook my climbing gear up to this belay and give the little belay a little pull. Yeah, okay,
Yeah, okay.
I'm happy with that.
Happy with that.
And then you literally just stepped off into the abyss until it kicked in and slowed you down, and then
Do not trust.
when you got right
not trust.
when you got right down the bottom, they had some mats at the bottom, but you couldn't see anything, from the top.
But what was the thing about it?
Oh man! So I went straight away. I went, "Who's going first?" I went, "I'll go first. No problem. I'll go first. Get it over done with, sorted." Stand on this plank, hooked up, but they got the belay. It was just dropping down into the.
Well, it was attached to like a bungee cord.
It was and it's like, okay, now I feel really like I'm not
it was
attached to anything.
drooping
You
off the edge. It
You
was
just had to
loose.
hold the cable up next to your shoulder so you didn't get whipped in the face, and then it just dropped down into the darkness and came back up to the belay above you, and it's like.
It wasn't tight at all. It
No,
was like
and I'm thinking, I really don't. Why did I say I'll go first?
something in the subconscious saying, "Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. Why are you doing this?
It was
Stop."
it was a real battle, because I'm telling myself they're not going to throw me off
It
here.
must
and
be safe.
It,
It
must
must
be
be
safe.
safe.
It just didn't.
But what if it's not?
It just didn't feel safe. But eventually, foot off.
And that was good when Tina had to go on
bungee
it.
jumping to my children this morning, and
What?
they looked at me the same way I'm looking at you now. Like, why would you do that?
Well, when we got down the bottom, actually, then you could see the opening at the top,
Yeah.
100 feet up above us.
You're all right. It's fine.
It's
I
fine,
survived.
We survived. And then Tina
Did you
came
not
up. We
just
got,
scream when you got to the bottom? Like you
no,
did
no,
before?
Tina did that.
Tina screamed twice.
She screamed as she left the top, and then screamed as she came down.
It was quite dramatic.
It was fun. But
It
she
made
enjoyed
the trip.
It made the trip. She enjoyed it. But we've got completely off track. But the point was, I used the yoke system
Yes.
with the pouches as my backpack because it was a real neat little system and small enough to go down the
Very
cones
much so.
without
Very
issue.
much
So
so.
yeah,
Sound suggestion.
no, it's your suggestion, isn't
Yeah, it
it?
was mine.
It's your suggestion. So you don't have to go for an expensive backpack because you can pick up a cheap
Army surplus.
Army surplus one. Doesn't have to be British Army surplus. It could be anything, But there you go. So the backpack.
Right, so my number 7 then, is it?
Mhm.
My number 7. I have got a set of cookses or camping cups.
Cooksers.
Cookses,
Good old
who's
cooksers.
aware of
You
what
can't be a
cookses are?
bushcrafter without a cookser.
I know, I want some. Oh, I really want
Although,
some. And
although I take issue with this.
I really like them. They're not
say
at all, I don't think they're very practical. You can't
No.
put them over a fire or anything. They're just beautiful things
No,
to have. And I would love some.
They are beautiful, and if I haven't carved, I've got spoon knives and things for carving, and I've made lots of spoons and bits and pieces, but I've not done a cookser yet.
Tip. Always be careful with spoon knives.
Yes, says the person.
I have the scars to prove.
He's got a big scar on his wrist.
Yeah.
They're very sharp.
I couldn't tell you what all the
It was actually a Yeti.
It
just emphasising that now. It was actually a Yeti, not a
yes.
spoon.
It's a Yeti bite. That's what it was.
wasn't Cocaine Bear.
I think,
Yeah, that trailer.
I say joking when I say I've got an issue with cookers. The fact is they become so iconic as every bushcrafter has to have one hanging off their
Yeah.
backpack. But because they are very much associated with Scandinavia, with Finland and places like that, but we have our own. An old Anglo-Saxon word "boon" was a cup or a vessel, and we have our own
Okay.
wooden
Oh,
cups.
I want
I
a
just-
boon.
I-
Yeah, the Vikings had wooden cups. I
I know they're not practical, but I just find them so beautiful. I would
they're
love
fine.
those.
But
And,
if you want to be a bushcrafter, Jack, you've got to have one.
I like the word boon.
Boon, yeah, boon is an old Anglo-Saxon word for a drinking vessel,
And that's
And I
not the word of the week.
and I think a very
which was crepuscular.
Crepuscular.
Yeah,
and
I remembered that. So
a lot of
don't
wassailing. So if you've heard of wassail or wassailing, that's an Anglo-Saxon word for basically good health, and they have wassailing ceremonies and things. And a wassailing cup was a circular cup that was generally, it could be metal, pewter or whatever, but again wooden. But it had a double, like a cookser has one wooden handle, it has two, and you'd basically pass it around everybody
Okay.
and give everybody, wish them wassail, good health. So yeah, every culture has its own cups.
Very cool.
So you don't have to have a cookser. You can
Yes.
have a boon instead.
Well, so I
I'll have it a
included
boon.
in that
Have it a
slash camping cups, and that would be things like the Crusader cup.
Yes.
I've got one of those. It's very useful.
Yeah, it's the metal crusader
Yes,
kit.
definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want a nice little thing, again, nobody's going to turn down not having a nicely carved.
Exactly.
And I think they're a reasonable price. You can get those at.
I'm not sure. I just know I want some.
Look on Wish. Look on Wish. I don't know what might turn.
They'll be made of polystyrene.
I don't know what might turn up. I know you can get them on Wish. Right, so we're on number 7, aren't we?
Yes.
Okay, and my one is a small first aid kit.
Yes.
Useful.
Yeah,
good.
a good. I will expand talking about first aid later on, but a small first aid kit because again, you don't want to be out. You've got your backpack, you've got your woolen blanket, you've got your cooking gear and your spices and everything else, and you're making yourself up a meal. Damn, I've cut myself, and I'm not sure.
Spoon knife.
not sure which bracket fungus I need to peel to use as a plaster. I know. I've got a little first aid kit that was given to me for Christmas. It's got plasters in it. It's got a bit of gauze. There you go. So a small first aid kit. Because again, you might say, oh, well, okay, somebody might have first aid kits, fine, but you can chuck a first aid kit in the car. You can chuck a first aid kit, get in your
have
backpack.
A car one and a house one and a work one.
Plus, everybody in your household can have a first aid kit.
Well,
You know?
what would the small first aid kit include?
Oh, it's usually plasters, gauze, antiseptic wipes, safety pins, bits and pieces. You can even add to it if you want to.
Yeah,
put
some of the
a couple
bigger
of headache
ones have,
tablets or something.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. So you can go out and you can get again for your preppers. They want a store of painkillers, so you get ibuprofen and paracetamol. They're all dirt cheap. You can get creams like Savlon, Germaline, things like that. You can add to your kit as well.
Have a base one and then just kind of build it up.
Burn gel is a good one.
Yes.
It's sort of like a full skin gel.
Could have done with some of that today, and my first aid kit didn't actually have any in.
All right, put it on the
exactly.
Put it on the Christmas
I
list.
think I ran out. Burn myself fairly regularly on exhaust.
Stick it in the bag. Stick it in the bag. Right, so
my Amazon wish list is getting larger as we speak.
He's got it open right now.
That's the whole point of this podcast. Hopefully, we're giving other people ideas. So I'm going to go back to my social media list. So what have we got? After the last one was hot water bottles. So we have a single burner stove. So we've already had the stove. So another good suggestion.
So what was that?
Single burner stove. So the stove has come up again.
My number 6. A single burner stove.
Oh, great. So, we don't need to discuss that too much because we've already gone
through so many different burners and bits and pieces.
And bobs. Briefly, I like gas. You can get gas one, small gas cylinder, but if you run out of gas and that's all it can do, you can do nothing else with it. So,
Happily have more than one.
Yeah. Okay, so that's
my number 6.
Number 6.
My number 6 also doesn't need discussing. We've already discussed it. Head torch.
Hey! Head torch. Well, that's going to chuck me straight onto my number 6. Thankfully, guys, I've got something different now.
Oh, yeah?
I have an axe puck sharpening stone.
Axe puck.
Yeah, have you know what an axe
Oh,
puck
I think
sharpening
I've
stone
not
is?
heard
seen
of an
them.
axe puck.
Yeah, right. An axe puck sharpening stone. It doesn't have to be necessary for an axe, but people listening may well understand what I mean, or you can do a Google search for an axe puck or just a puck sharpening stone. It's just looks like what it sounds like. It's a circular
Hockey
disc,
puck type
like
thing.
a hockey puck.
Okay.
Some of them have little shaped edges on them to put your fingers in and things. One side a finer grit, one side a coarse grit. Use it for sharpening your axe, hatchet, knives.
I'm going to
Whatever.
add one of these to my
And
list. 'cause my knife is
you can buy them
dull.
by the cells. A lot of them come with a little leather pouch or a little camo pouch, blah blah blah. But everybody's going to have some kind of sharpening system generally. I don't. People will go out and buy those kind of sharpening tools you can buy, where you run the knife blade through like two metal jaws, but they kind of peel the steel off your blade.
Mine isn't recommended because if you have any burrs on your knife, you will shatter your window. But the top of your car window works extremely well for sharpening knives, and the bottom of a ceramic mug.
There you go.
Wasn't that a thing with knife sharpening? Is like sometimes when they're actually making the knives nowadays, it kind of has like a double bevel to make it really difficult to actually sharpen stuff.
So it's, they have like a bevel they cut into the blade, so it's a bevel edge, and then they put the edge on the bevel, so you've got a very small edge on the bottom of the bevel. And some people go to the extremes of grinding out the bevel. A lot of people like you. No, sorry.
Why would they do that?
It's machine made.
Easier to make. You've got it makes you buy more knives.
You've got the thickness of the
as soon as this guy, repeat custom. That's what it is.
So you've got the thickness of the steel, and they literally just grind it out with circular bevel on each side, and then literally just put an edge on that. Which I'm not against, because I've got some bevel edge knives and I can sharpen them fine, but
comes with practice.
Most people, again, bushcrafters, will use the term Scandi grind. A Scandi grind is a bit similar to what's known. You can punch this up, listeners. If you look at different grinds for putting on a knife edge, you can Google that, and you'll probably find a little picture which is a good descriptor. Look at the picture, and it will show you the different shapes of them down. So a Scandi grind is literally just a V shape. A sabre grind is, I think, a little bit more thinner on that side to a Scandi grind, and they are the preferred edges. You don't have to mess about with that. I do an Anglo grind because, funnily enough, Anglo-Saxons also used to grind their knives and swords and instruments in the same way as the Scandinavians, but I use an Anglo grind.
There you go.
Just to be different. So, you could call it a Scandi grind, but I'll call it an Anglo grind.
Anglo grind and your boon, sorted.
I've got my Anglo-Saxon cup, I've got my Anglo-Saxon knife edge.
There you go.
There you go. But yeah, so everybody has a sharpening system. Some people go for the ones where they're very complex, if you like, even to the point of where you would put marker pen.
Yeah, I've seen entire desk setups.
That's an engineering thing. It's called engineering blue, and you put it on things when you grind it.
And then you grind it off until it's gone. Like that. Whereas being a good old-fashioned carpenter myself and cabinet maker, that I've sharpened knives and chisels and tools and plane blades and things like that for years. And I just do it naturally. I don't really think about it. You can get things that you can say attach to chisels to keep the angle right, and then you can run it down the sharpening stone. But again, I just kind of do it naturally.
I'll just do it with an angle grinder.
At the end of the day,
it's not great, but it works.
At the end of the day,
not good if you haven't got power.
No. At the end of the day, if you were out in the wilds, you've been in a plane crash and you've got to survive, and you've got I found a
surviving against timber wolves.
Yeah, and I found something that I can use as a knife.
I've seen that.
The grey with Liam Neeson.
Grey. That's it. As long as you haven't fallen into the grizzly maze, you're all right. Or grizzly.
Get those small tequila bottles, smash them on a rock, duct tape them to your hand, boom, done.
This has gone very off.
That's from the grey, okay? It's the end scene.
I don't remember that bit.
Anyway, so but so
might be whiskey.
You can put an edge on most things, or even if you need to, you just get a flint and do a bit of flint napping. Get an edge on it. Or use a piece of glass, as you mentioned, a broken bottle. Knives. A lot of people get scared about sharpening things. How do I sharpen it? But, you just practice and you can get an edge on most things, and as long as it'll cut and do what you needed to do, job done. Anyway, so that was your number
6.
Number six. So. And my number. No, that was my number 6.
That was your number 6.
That was my number 6.
I'm just saying it was number 6. Right. We've all done number 6.
We've all done number 6. So we're on to our list of the social media list, which comes to, and it's a pocket SAS survival guide. So I would put that down as knowledge. Yeah, you've mentioned that before. A great gift. And again, it can be. There's so many different books. Come back to this in a bit, but pocket survival guide. I don't think that, again, it's something that you can double up on. It doesn't matter,
because you're going to get the 2017 edition compared to the 1989 edition.
I think I've got the original SAS survival guide, which is quite a big, hefty book.
Isn't that big square one?
Yeah, it's the big square one.
And then later on, we've got that kind of extreme survival book that you got me.
Yeah. because they all have tips in. It's like most books. When you're doing any subject, you'll have books and you go, I've seen this tip 10 times, and then
that makes it a good tip.
And then sometimes you'll come across an obscure tip that you have not seen in any other books.
It's an interesting comparison, isn't it?
Tip.
Interesting comparison.
So it's kind of like, he or she has got so many books. Getting another book, they're not going to find that a worthy gift. Well, that's wrong, because there's always something there. And even if you have 2 of the same book, sometimes you'll have.
You can use it as lighting a fire.
That's not what I was going to say. I was going to say, if you've got a small little book, you can have one at the side of the bed that you can use for just some light reading, one in the bog, one in the car, one in the backpack,
Then you're sorted any time.
Exactly. And if you've watched John Wick, you can use it as a weapon. As a weapon.
The new one comes out.
That's why you get odd looks in the library.
Yeah, it's like, I'm picking the book up, going, okay, wait, okay, you can hold this nicely. Not too many pages. Good hardback.
When that 7.5-foot giant walks around the corner and assassinate you.
Exactly. Don't underplay it. There's nothing worse than the paper cut.
Okay, on to my number 5.
Ooh, number 5.
A British Army Crusader kit. I think we've already kind of covered that.
Crusader kits under the cooking.
So my one was a foraging guide book.
Foraging guide,
More
excellent.
knowledge and
More
things.
knowledge.
I have one. I got it a couple of months back. I've yet to actually go foraging, but we found a very rare mushroom in Flitwick Woods, and I went straight home and I looked in my book and I was like, sure
my
it's in
mushroom.
here. And I looked in it and I went, do not eat.
Damn.
Good, because it looked not very nice.
I think as Terry Pratchett said, all fungi are edible.
Yes, some
only
edible once.
Only once. But that's one area where I can identify. Over the years, I've been doing bushcraft for many, many years, but I've always been interested in fungi, but I've also been incredibly wary of fungi. So unless it's something that is really obvious,
so.
I just I'd rather look at them for their beauty.
Yes, same.
Rather
than potentially have the worst day of your life.
Because I'm not having to survive. I'm not having to survive, so I'm not going to say, I'm going to pick that chicken in the woods and eat it. I don't need to.
Well, I tell you one thing. I've always wanted to try one of those puffballs.
The puffballs, yeah.
Do you remember the puffballs?
Yeah, well, I remember when we took Chaz out, a friend of ours, out on a survival course.
Survival weekend,
and they had some real big puffballs there.
Yeah. I thought they were going to feed it to us, but they never did.
Yeah,
Are they always big or are they small?
No, you can get very small ones.
I think up at Ampthill Park there was loads and loads of them, and we looked that up in the book again, I think, and it was like you can eat them. I think you have to cook them first, I think. But if after a certain point they become very powdery, which is how they were, and they are no good then.
No, when they're sporing. No, when you got the spores coming out. No. I remember. Do you know Malden Woods at all? It's on the south side of Bedford. I was up there a few years back actually, and there was a fallen oak, and the oak itself was sort of hollowed out a little bit from where it had been rotting, and there was a huge beefsteak fungus. It was the first. I've always been looking out for a beefsteak fungus. You literally cut them, and it looks like bleeding flesh.
Wow.
But even then, I hesitate. I'm not going to take that because I want to do what you did.
Yep. Check.
Go back, double check.
Always check.
And I thought, right. I think a couple of days later, I'll go back. And by that time, somebody had taken a stick to it and just smashed it to pieces. But on the subject of fungi and identifying them using books, I would highly recommend go on a course.
Yes.
If you get the opportunity to.
The one we saw, the rare one we saw, I can't remember what it was. It was black and white, but it was the way it was layered. I think it was white over black, and that was. It might have been the other way around. It might have been black over white. But anyway, there's two, and they look very similar. One's black over white, one's white over black, and one is edible and one is not.
That's why I say.
Always check.
That's why you want to go on one of these courses, so the person who's running the course can point at it and say, yes, you can eat that one. No, you can't eat that one, you're going to die.
Yeah, I would say, if you can do that, if you're 100% happy and you're 100% sure of what you're eating, fine. But if in doubt, don't.
When it comes to fungus.
When it comes to most things that you might. There are certain things you can do.
It's just good general advice in life, to be honest. If you're unsure about eating it, probably don't.
But again, a holy trinity, one of those is survivalists. And if you were in a survival situation, then you might need to try something to see if it is. And then usually it's pop it in your mouth, keep it in the side of your mouth, see if there's a reaction. Don't eat, go jumping into it. Do all the little tests.
How many
first.
different Bear Grylls programs could we reference right now?
Eat a little bit, if you've got no mouth reaction and things.
Bear Grylls always
I
says.
need to squeeze the moisture out of this elephant dung.
As Bear Grylls always says,
Use
5-star hotel or I'm not doing it.
I always feel sorry for the cameraman who's following him down the cliff.
Yeah, it's always poor old Bear Grylls is jumping off the cliffs all enthusiastically, followed by cameraman who nobody ever mentions. He's like, oh no!
Yeah, it's all right for you. You can use your hands.
Yeah, okay, you've used the dead sheep that you just pulled out of the bog and use it as a sleeping bag. What the hell am I meant to use?
Thanks.
Thanks for that.
It's all right if you inflate it and blooming traverse across a pond. That's fine.
Exactly. A bear used to be your chief scout as well.
Yeah, true.
He still is, as far as I know.
Yeah.
But that's what they say about Bear Grylls and Ray Mears, you see.
Yeah. Always trust the fat survivalist.
Well, for those people listening that might not know, that's the difference between survivalists and bushcraft. Because surviving is all about doing exactly that. You're put into a situation where you are literally having to use skills to survive until you can find a way out or somebody rescues you. Whereas bushcraft is just simply about living out in the wild.
I'm going to put myself in this situation.
Baking bread in the woods.
and living comfortably.
I'm going to smoke some salmon over
That's
this
it.
open fire.
Making a sweat lodge while you've got a really nice bed that you've made out of twigs, and it's all you're making a bannock, and it's all lovely. That's bushcraft. That's the Ray Mears comfortable lifestyle.
Anyway,
don't
where were we?
squeeze that. Don't squeeze the dung. That's what we do.
Good say, I guess.
What were we on? Oh yes, we were on number 5. So it's my number 5 now, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, my number 5 is British Army penknife.
Oh, there we go.
Stroke multi-tool.
Okay.
Because if you can't get hold of a British Army penknife, there are plenty of multi-tools that you can pick up as well. And in fact, somebody did. I'm going to go straight. I'm going to jump the list now, but I'm going to go straight to the multimedia list, where I had a chap, and he did say that there's a multi-tool secateurs set at Waitrose that's around £7 at the moment.
Oh.
And he said he's got one and it's pretty good.
It's probably the cheapest thing in Waitrose.
So there you go, a multi-tool.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We're getting down the list now.
on to number
Yeah.
4. An army surplus sleeping bag.
Yep, okay.
Always good.
The lovely term that they use in bushcraft is, what sleep system do you use?
Oh, yes.
So, what sleep system?
You've got to
do you
use one of the...
You've got to have a sleep
good
system,
one, the
and then
good
you've got to
one.
do a video about your sleep system.
I do like this sleeping
Yes,
bag.
this sleeping bag, bivvy bags, tents, what's it called? Oh, tarps, being under your tarp,
Hammocks.
being on your hammock. What is your sleep system?
Well, the thing is I like about the army surplus ones is the fact that they actually keep you warm.
They do, yeah.
Where if you go outdoors or something and they just
I
like
have one from Guy
keeps you
It's a
cold.
bit of a fancy one. I didn't want one of these mummy-shaped ones. I wanted a nice one because for once space wasn't a problem. Because I was like, well, if I'm going camping now, I'm trying to build my truck into an overlander. Space isn't much of a problem. So I bought a really nice one. It is very warm.
Yeah.
It was quite expensive. Probably more expensive than a British Army surplus one.
Yeah, I just found it in a shop.
But it was very good.
Bargain
Yes.
bucket. So.
Yeah. Well,
Treated
our
myself.
local army surplus, great place called the Green Barn over near Cambridge.
I keep meaning
So if
to go
anybody listening from the Green Barn, awesome place to go. I know there's other places out there, but we're close in Bedfordshire. We're close to the Green Barn. So
Definitely
if you need to
recommended.
go and find that British Army sleeping bag or backpack,
Or literally most of the things on this
Most of
list.
the things on your list, yeah.
but then you can order them offline as well. So there you go. But yeah, they've never let us down at the Green Barn.
Never.
We're not sponsored by the Green Barn, by the way.
Yet.
But if you want to sponsor us. Okay, so a sleeping bag. But I agree. I have problems with sleeping bag. I'm looking at you, Jack,
Yes,
and maybe
that's
think
why I don't have a mummy one.
it's
I'm
the
very
shoulder
wide.
width.
Yes.
Because I have an issue trying to get the zip
Yep.
done up.
It's fantastic up to about
And
here.
up to your waist. After
And then
that,
you're like,
it's just absolute
Yep, no,
nightmare.
that's why I bought
I
the
actually
spider
I can zip myself into my British Army one fine, and then in the middle of the night, this is a bit of advice: don't drink probably an hour before you go to bed, which everybody drinks right up to the point of going to bed, and then you go, I need to go to the toilet in the middle of the night, and once I'm out of that sleeping bag, I ain't getting back. I can never get that zip done.
I'm gonna hold it until morning.
The thing on sleeping bags is a bit of an issue. I'm tempted to gift my one that I have just bought to one of my children because I may go for a double one.
But if we're talking about a bargain, sleeping bag's going to be incredibly expensive.
Yes.
But if we're talking about bargain, budget, then ex-army ones, they're always still in really good condition.
Definitely.
They are very warm.
Always check it out first, make sure you fit.
Yeah, I just lay it on the floor, get in it and see if it fits. And there are other different sleep systems, of course. I like the Dutch Army poncho, which is a poncho, but it also doubles up as a tarp, and it also clips together, and you can get a liner for it, which is a thermal liner, so it actually also turns into kind of a sleeping bag come bivvy bag. And I like to have my sleep system I like to have, I like bivvy bags as well. Of course it depends on the time of the year, because you're not always going to use a sleeping bag. I mean, me and Zach, we've been out there and we've gone back just to the traditional wool blanket, literally on the floor, wool blanket. Job done. That's all you need, because the nights are so warm.
At least you know you're going to fit under a wool blanket.
Thank goodness it didn't rain.
Yeah, well, we did have tarps on that one, didn't we?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so yours was the sleeping bag.
Yep.
Go for a ex-army one. Can't go wrong, really.
So what number are we on now?
4.
So I've got, I wrote flint and steel, but I was then corrected by my friends when I was chatting to them, and they said, call it a ferro rod.
Oh, okay.
There was other terms that they had, and I was like, they are cool things, they're useful,
Ferro rod, different from a flint and steel.
Yes, that was what they said. So it was just means of lighting a fire without matches or lighter, basically.
Yeah. So flint and steel, if you've got a high carbon steel, then that's when you're going to get a spark off of your flint, or if you use a ferro rod and use the back of your knife, or a lot of the ferro rods you can just buy a ferro rod by itself and you stick a handle on it. That's why I like big chunky ferro rod, stick a wooden handle on the end of it, use the back of your knife. Or some of these smaller ones, they come with a little
I should be looking for a new one. I bought a cheap one from Go Outdoors and it fell apart immediately.
Yes. Just fall out the handle.
Yes, it's very annoying. I thought that looks cool and useful and nice and small and compact.
Find yourself a nice big chunky rod. And get a big chunky rod. What do you guys love there?
Nothing.
You want a bit of girth on it, so it's going to last you, and make a handle for it. Stick a leather thong.
Stick a handle on your rod.
Yeah, stick a handle on your rod. Stick a leather thong through the end. Give it a Prince Albert through the end of the handle.
Anyway,
I knew what direction this conversation was going, and you can't go wrong with that. And as I say, if you use the back of your knife, not all knives. So if you've got your little camp knife around the camp that you do you use as your sort of utility knife, because again, a lot of people have different knives when they're doing bushcraft, where they will use one knife specifically for finer work, feathering sticks or cooking or whatever they're doing. But everybody has kind of their go-to knife, but not all knives have an edge on the back of them. Some of them are kind of smooth or rounded off. It's always good if you've got one of those knives and you don't mind doing this, file the back so it's got a nice square top on it near to the handle, because then you can get your ferro rod right in that nick and strike down. You'll get this beautiful spark off it.
In the process of making a knife out of one of the biggest files I've ever found in my life. It's almost like an Arnold Schwarzenegger Predator size.
I've got one of those upstairs.
I'll show it to you later.
One thing about that
is
if you're doing that, make sure it's either a lock knife or a fixed blade knife.
Yeah.
Not
you don't want to be doing that folding knife on a folding knife.
My thumb!
That's gone.
And that's a tip on the Opinel knives. I don't know if you're familiar with Opinel.
Yes.
They tend to have the wooden handles on them, and they have a little swiveling ferrule that locks the blade.
I find they're just over fancy.
It can be they're really sharp.
Yeah, they're sharp.
They are a really sharp knife. Okay, I can't fault them for that. The blades are really sharp, and they keep a great edge on them. It's nice having a wooden handle as well, but it's got this little ferrule ring that you turn, and so you can actually lock it shut, so it doesn't open, and you can then when it's open you can lock it. But I've actually found And I'm really careful with my knives. But I've found that ferrule, if you're not careful, it can actually just work itself and it'll fold on you when you don't expect it to, because you kind of
heat and moisture and stuff on the wood can change the size.
I don't know if it's happened to any of our listeners out there, but I've twice, when I've kind of in my mind, you're thinking, right, I've turned the ferrule, it's locked, everything's fine, and then it's gone and folded on my finger and cut my finger.
Yeah.
And it's like the ferrule slipped on it, and it's like, right, I don't trust it now.
Only light cutting duties.
Yeah, light cutting duties. I had it the weekend actually. We went out and I had that. It was again, they're not technically legal, I don't suppose, but it was only a small little opinel. But
I've got a tiny one that is.
Yeah, if you're on private land, it doesn't matter. So we have a permission where we are, and it's all private, so I can carry what I like really on private land. But yeah, so a knife like that, if you're going to use it for striking, as you say, be careful because you're turning it round, and if it doesn't lock,
oh dear,
or if you think it's locked and it's decided to slip, boom, it's going to fold. So nice, sturdy, fixed blade knife is good for that, and a good ferro rod. Job done. And you can do other things as well. You can strike the knife away from you, or keep the knife static and pull the ferro rod towards you across the back. Because I see a lot of people sometimes when they're doing the most simplest task of maybe starting a fire and they've spent ages scraping some silver birch bark and getting the nice little pile of dust.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Then they get their ferro rod there and go strike away from them towards that, and then knock it absolutely everywhere. Whereas if you just put the knife and drag the ferro rod towards you, you get the same spark, and you haven't thrown your hard work and tinder everywhere. So that's all learn stuff. Right. So
your number 4.
I'm not my number 4. Wow. It's getting close now because we're going to be on our top 3. My number 4, head torch.
There you go.
Head torch. I kind of already mentioned the social media one. I said multimedia, but social media with the secateurs. So that's that one done.
Okay, so we're going to move on.
We are into our
top 3.
Top 3. Now this is what I've been really waiting for, because we've gone through quite a few good items already. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting where they've sat, so this is where I'm interested.
Because some have come up a few times.
What we consider is those 3 top of the list important things to get somebody.
Okay.
So, over to you.
My number 3, a Polish Army Lwów.
Ah, Polish Army Lwów.
Now, it's made out of 2 ponchos that kind of button together to kind of make this small little tent.
Yeah, makes a Lwów.
What's great about it is the fact that it can be put up in a couple of minutes. Yeah, easy.
Are you familiar with the Lwów
I've heard of them. I've heard it pronounced Lavu before.
Lwów.
Yeah, are these the ones that you can also wrap around trees and use the tree as a centre pole?
You wouldn't use a centre pole, a tree as a centre pole.
Depends how thick the tree is.
I can't remember where I've seen that before. I've seen. There are
different ways to put them up, because they come with a sectional centre pole.
You can put the actual pegs in.
There's kind of a bit pointless wrapping it around a tree. If you're going to do that, you just get a stick. If you haven't got the centre pole that comes with it, you just cut any old stick that is the right length.
The ones I've seen that I keep looking at wantingly are the Savota ones.
Right. Well, a Lwów, as Zak's already said, they are basically 2 army ponchos.
Yeah.
So it's literally a poncho that will go over your backpack and cover you completely, and they're pretty long, so down to the ground. They come in 3 sizes: size 1, 2, and 3. The only difference is the size 1 has one. Where the door, if you like, is where you button the ponchos together. You can use either side. You can use them as a half shelter. You don't have to put them together. You can have like a half Lwów shelter, but at the bottom it will have a grommet at the bottom, one singular grommet. Mm. The size 2 will have 2 grommets, and size 3 will have 3 grommets, and it gives you probably a difference of about 5 inches in its difference. I've heard some people who say that they're like 6'2", they go for a size 3 because they don't fit in a size 1. But it is a huge, massive difference. The Lwůws, and again, putting the Lwůws up, you can use a centre pole, you can use a tri-pole where you put 3 poles together in order to then give yourself more room without having to negotiate around a pole. I tend to carry, whenever I'm out, I like a walking stick. And if I'm going with my Lwów, I've got a walking stick that's already cut to the right length for me.
Which is handy.
So I don't have to look for a stick when I'm out. I can just literally just peg it out, stick the walking stick
Bish
up
bosh,
in it.
done.
It's done.
Tense up.
Other people will go out and find a stick, cut it to length, or if they're going back to a permission or somewhere where they've camped before, they'll have a stick and they'll chuck it in the bushes and they know where it is and bring it back out again. Or you can take the peak of it and tie some cordage around it, and then hook it over a branch or something, as long as obviously you're not under anything that's what we call a widow maker, which is where there's any danger. You can literally string it up, or you could go for a piece of paracord between two places and then hoist it up.
So many different options.
So many different options you can do.
Now,
with the
one of the reasons I thought this is in my top 3 was because at the time I actually bought it, it was about 50 quid.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. Yeah.
Now, it was £50 at the time I bought it off of Amazon. It was like an army
think,
surplus one.
Yeah, I think even you say you bought it from Amazon, but most army surplus places like Military Mart and that, I think they were 45, 50 quid.
Yeah. But unfortunately, now
they become so popular.
Yeah.
They are 120 up.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's crazy prices for it. And the funny thing is, when I was a kid back in the 70s, I had literally the same size of tent. It wasn't to army ponchos, but it was called a sombrero tent. The more generic term for this type of tent is a bell tent. Literally, it's just a circular bell shape. Some people call the Lavus, they call them a teepee tent, but they're not really like a teepee. A teepee is much different. It's a lot taller, and obviously traditionally teepees were covered in skins. The Lavu is low because in the tundra up in Finland and places like that, when you've got the snow coming in, you want it low down and to be survive against those kind of winds and that kind of in the conditions. But you can also get another one, which is the Hungarian Zeltbahn.
No, I haven't heard of that.
Hungarian Zeltbahn, I believe the translation of Zeltbahn is simply tent canvas. So,
well,
again,
there you go.
The reason I bring it up, because it just sprung to mind, the Zeltbahn, or Hungarian Lavu, army Lavu, they tend to be camo, whereas the Polish Lavus are green, just a dark green. I'm sure I've seen some people out there with some blue ones as well. I don't know where they come from, or whether they're, reproductions made by somebody else. I don't know.
Who knows?
But the Zeltbahn is the same sort of size. I think it's a tiny bit smaller than the Lavu. The Polish Lavu, but that is more pyramid in its shape. It's square,
Oh, okay.
So you peg it out square at the bottom. But
That'd be interesting to see.
Still a single pole, and that has aluminium buttons opposed to your plastic buttons. And but there you go, variations. But I believe that the Hungarian Zeltbahn Lavu is still at a reasonable price, and that doesn't mean you should go and put the prices up.
Buy them while you can.
Buy them while you can, yeah. But
there you go.
Okay, so that was yours.
Yep.
Number
3, Jack.
Number 3, I have got Osprey water bottle, the plastic Osprey water bottle. I had one in here last time. I don't have it with me today.
Yep.
Because they're great. And everyone needs water bottles, so I put it in the top 3.
Okay, is that I can't remember? Has that got the folding straw top on it? Or?
No, it's just a screw plastic top with a little plastic thing on it, so you can't misplace it or anything.
Right. Okay.
I think it's the British military bottle.
Okay. Yeah.
Fits in the Crusader cups.
That's good.
Exactly. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Mine came as a kit with the bottle and the cup.
So. I had a mind blank there. It's the black bottle that comes in the Crusader kit. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
And you can get and you can pick those up from Army Surplus.
Get several.
They're about 10 quid, I think. Last I checked. I think I got mine for about 10, 15 quid from Ray Mears' site.
And if you come across those and they've got the grommet plug in the top, they are for when you've got a gas mask on for a breathing apparatus, so you can have a drinking bottle. Yeah. So some of them come with the with a little grommet in the top.
Yeah, I've got one that's got that.
You've got one that's got that. Yeah, that's for when you're wearing your breathing apparatus. So, yeah. So no, very handy bottle. Right. So my number 3, books. Now, we mentioned books before, so I won't spend too much time on this, but I had books, and under that I had a sub-listing of
books for Christmas?
Books for Christmas?
What the heck is that?
So I had a subsection, so Bushcrafters survival books, not books, so books so people can practice different knots because
Not books.
Yeah,
not
books.
books.
I would like not books for Christmas.
Yes.
Oh, he wants anything but books.
Okay. But knots are a very handy thing that
Yes,
everybody needs to
tying
learn.
knots. Tying knot books.
So if you can learn to do some of those, nice Prussic knot and things to get the
Figure of eight.
tension on
Yeah.
your tarp line and things
Good
like that.
stuff. Clovitch.
Yes, yeah. First, this is what I mentioned briefly when I mentioned about a first aid kit. First aid book comes under that because to have knowledge in that.
Knowledge is power.
Foraging book,
Yes.
which is what you also mentioned. Identification of plants. Okay, just as much as I identify, and I've got fungi down here, and also tracking animals and identification as well. So you've got a huge, for the listeners who want ideas when it comes to books, we did mention SAS book, you did mention foraging book.
Extreme survival.
Yeah, you've got so many things you can choose from. Yeah, there's a huge list. So books, and I'm now going to go back to the Facebook, and we have got a power bank.
Yeah.
I purchased one recently. I think you have the similar one, the solar charging one.
Yeah, the solar charger one. I found that very
About-
handy
about
actually.
30 quid. I've
Yeah.
found it difficult to use in the past couple of weeks. It's
Yeah.
been extremely cloudy.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
It was charging extremely slowly,
Right.
so I've been charging it up off my PlayStation.
No, that's fine. I
Yeah,
mean,
they are-
I generally on an everyday basis, if I use that power bank and I run it down, then I will just plug it in the mains
Yep.
and charge it up.
Mhm.
But it's the fact that it has the facility that if you're out and about, you can stick
When
it
I
in,
had it,
in the
I
sun.
think the first day I got it, I just put it on because it was like, don't leave in a car. When it's 4 degrees outside, I'm going to leave it in the car. It'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I put it on my dashboard and it charged up across the course of a day about half the thing, and it's quite a big power bank. So
Is that the one
yeah.
that's got the triple fold?
Yes. Yeah, it's about 30 quid on
Yeah,
Amazon. Waited to the Black Friday
Yeah.
sale, and it was very good. Charged up about half its thing in a day from solar. So
And you can get quite a few
Very
that
good.
that aren't solar powered that are much more budget
Yep.
price than that.
your
There you are.
£6 one battery powered one that you bought on the last.
So my number 3 was books. Now
Yes.
we're coming on to the top two.
Top two.
Top two.
Okay. Top two for me. Well, number 2 is a heavy duty fire striker with the emphasis on not small. So this is again this ferro
Yep.
rod
The ferro
thing.
rod.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got the ferro rod. Over you, Jack.
My number 2, I put penknife with the thought of the open all penknives because they were quite cheap.
Yeah,
And
don't get me wrong, it's not a bad
your
knife.
thoughts on them,
It's
but
not-
yeah, I
they are
like
not
them.
bad
It was
knives at all.
My first penknife when I was a kid was an open all one.
Very sharp.
It was very
They are
good.
they are very sharp.
Spent hours just. I'd go with my dad. We'd go shooting, and I'd be bored out of my mind, and my feet would be freezing, and he'd be shooting. And I was like, I wish I could be doing that. And I'd be
Yeah.
sat there with my penknife that I think my godfather James bought me.
Have you
And
still
I'd
got
sit
it?
there. I don't.
Oh, bless.
I don't know where it went. But I'd sit there for ages, and I'd pick these plants out of the ditch. I don't know what they were, but they were sort of very light. I don't know what they were. Hollow inside.
Sounds like cow parsley, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. They were very dry and they were easily cut. And I was just a kid. I just cut them for hours and hours. So,
It's
There
great.
you go.
There you go. Superb.
I keep you occupied.
They keep you- and again, I will emphasize they are a good knife. Just have to watch that old ferrule. That's all.
Yeah.
My number 2, life straw.
Wow.
See,
Okay.
which was right back to your number 10.
That was my number 10.
And I thought that because it's a way of making sure you've got plenty of fresh water.
Well, you need water to survive,
Plenty of
so.
water. So
I
that,
didn't put live straw on mine at all.
that came
Oh,
in-
no,
The first thing I thought of as well was live straw, and then I was going to put it as my number 1, and I haven't. And I've changed it for something silly.
Thankfully, we've got it covered.
we've got it covered. Yeah, in a situation we're getting all the gear together, aren't we?
And we've even got spares.
Or spares. As to say, 1 is none, 2 is 1.
There you
go. I'm not going to now refer to the list from social media because we've run out of social media suggestions. So that just leaves us with the number 1 spot.
Number 1.
This is what we would go to if we were going to.
Can I suggest for this one, because mine is silly, that we go this way around?
Okay.
Okay.
Mine, and I base this on. I'm going to give you a little story. I was on a film job last October, so a year ago. Not October just gone, but October last year, and I was away in my van camping on location for a month, and other people that were filming on this project were coming and going, And I was with a small group of people. There were 6 of us that were. I can't really tell you the stuff because of NDAs, but there was 6 of us that were a core group in this film shoot. And so we spent all our time together for a whole month, apart from when it got to the end of the day and everybody else left site, but I had my camper van, so I stayed there, and me and the security guard who had his camper van, we had a good old conversation. So, look at my camper van, what the fuck am I camper van? As you do. But I wasn't leaving site, okay, apart from when it got to a weekend. And when we got towards the end of that shoot, throughout that shoot, because people were leaving site, they were coming back in from our group and they were bringing little gifts in. And by the end of it, I thought, I'd kind of felt, and some of the last gifts were, there was three ladies, 3 gents, and one of the ladies brought us all in kind of like little Christmas gift. And the shoot was extended by 3 days. And because I hadn't been leaving site, I kind of felt like I had got the opportunity to go and do any kind of shopping or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But because they extended it for 3 days, it meant that the last weekend I came back, I thought, right, what am I going to get everybody? What am I going to get everybody as a gift to, it just right. And I thought, what would I give them?
Mm-hmm.
So I make tinder pouches, and that's not my number one, by the way, but I make leather tinder pouches. And I thought the best gift I can give them personally for myself was the gift of fire. And that's what I've got on my number one, back to the ferro rod, the gift.
Oh, there you go.
Fire lighting. So I gave them all a ferro rod in a leather tinder pouch. The 3 chaps, I gave them their ferro rods and some tinder and stuff, because I know blokes, they kind of like it. The ladies are going, I don't know what that is. Not being sexist or anything, but what I did with the ladies is because they were very much, or spent a month with them, I kind of knew what they were like, what they liked to do. So I got them all scented candles to go in there, so they could light the candles, so they could have scented candles for Christmas. So and they loved it. But the gift was, what can I give somebody? The gift of fire. Because fire is the thing that, the element for me, I mean, obviously you need water as well, but fire is that thing that keeps us warm, cooks our food, keeps us safe. And mankind, if we hadn't discovered how to manipulate fire, we wouldn't have all the things we have now, because
we probably wouldn't be able to be doing this podcast.
Not at all.
Because fire has allowed humans to alter things and to manufacture things and such. So fire, and that's why that's at the top of my list.
That's very cool.
So anyway, yours was the funny one.
Yes, what have you got?
Oh, you're coming in last place.
Now, this one I chose as the fact that, okay, if I'm on a desert island, what is the one thing I would want?
I know this. I know Twinkies.
Not Twinkies.
He loves Twinkies.
Not Twinkies.
Give me my Twinkies!
It can be like that sometimes, especially when they're really pricey. But one thing I would want on a desert island is my British Army survival knife.
Ah, the pig. That's a common name for it.
Is it?
The pig, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it used to be in the vehicle's toolbox, toolkit. In fact, I've got one just behind you.
Oh, I can get it.
Yeah, then Jack will know what we're talking about. It's hanging up right in front of you.
Oh, yeah. It blends in.
It's just outside the studio.
Oh, they're pretty very heavy.
Yeah, but it is one big chunk
That
of
is
steel.
the thickness of the one I'm making out of the file, then.
It means the business.
It really does. It's very cool.
You can do pretty much anything with that. It's literally a hand axe.
Yeah.
But you can't bust it.
Good for splitting.
You can't bust it. It gets a real good edge on it. It's great for
Easy to sharpen.
to sharpen.
Very good.
An amazing.
You can use it as a hammer.
Yeah, you can have pry bar.
Yeah, anything.
I mean, we've literally built an Anglo-Saxon village using those knives.
Very good. Very good.
So that's your number one.
That's my number one. I love that knife to pieces.
It has over the years proven itself.
It's proven itself.
It's not the fanciest of knives.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
You love
beautiful.
it. Other people will say it's just a big chunk of steel.
Fantastic.
It is
Awesome.
It is, for me, it's my go-to camp knife.
No nonsense. No nonsense.
I do anything from really fine feathering, doing feather sticks. Well, it just does everything.
To splitting logs.
Splitting logs, yeah. But as the Bushcrafters like to say, wood processing. Yes. It'll do pretty much everything. I think that my other finer knives, I'll just use those for cooking and stuff like that. But there you go. So yours is the British Army as it's generally referred to, survival knife. Yeah.
Yes.
Jack, you get the pride of place of being the...
I do, but it's been kind of spoiled. Mine was Twinkies.
Oh no!
Give him a round of applause for that one.
We could be Twinkie brothers.
Yeah, Twinkie brothers.
I tried so hard to get Twinkies to bring in as well today, and they don't sell them in Tesco's anymore.
Oh.
Well, if I went out to my stores, I have got Twinkies in the rations.
How old are they?
That doesn't really matter, does it?
This is the thing. I looked it up, and apparently they're not invincible. They go off after like 25 days.
No.
No.
They're the food of the ancients.
I imagine that's if
Inkies.
they're opened.
Inkies.
I imagine they last forever unopened. So.
You've seen Mortal Engines, haven't you?
I really wanted to watch that, and I was very excited about watching it, and I started watching it and I fell asleep. Not because it was boring, because I was absolutely knackered, and I must get back around to watching it.
There was a scene in that where they're eating the food of the ancients. It's like, how old are these? They're like several thousand years old or something.
Oh, I need to watch this.
And the packaging, of course, has worn off. And what are these? They're called Inkies.
Oh, no, I must go back and watch that.
Okay.
I was enjoying it until I fell asleep.
So there you go. We've got our top 10 Christmas gift ideas.
There you go.
For the preppers, bushcrafters, and survivalists, the Holy Trinity.
Very good.
Okie dokie, so that brings us to our word of the week. And the word of the week was...
Crepuscular.
Have you worked out what it means, Jack?
No, but...
You can take a stab in the dark.
I'm going to have a guess and say that I think it's a thing.
I
think it's a thing.
I think it's a thing. And I think it's the space between the glass and the image on your television.
Right. Okay.
That's certainly something I would.
I lost it in the crepuscular. You know?
How would you put that in a sentence?
Okay. Crepuscular means resembling or relating to twilight, or in zoology, of an animal appearing or active in twilight.
So that would be at dawn or dusk.
Yes.
Cool. Such as a bat.
A bat.
Very cool.
Crepuscular.
I think I've heard this word before. Was it mentioned on your Bat podcast?
Possibly. It has origins in the mid-17th century from the Latin crepusculum, meaning twilight.
Very cool.
Crepuscular.
Today
Crepuscular.
I learned a thing.
Crepuscular.
Well done in the comments if you got it right.
Yay! Well done.
Jack, have you enjoyed coming back on the podcast?
I certainly have.
Would you like to come back again?
I certainly would.
There you go.
Yeah, I think you're going to be a regular because we need you in for the prepping podcast.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're going to do
I
7 more
enjoy
of
this.
these.
I'm learning much as well.
Well, we need to go back and cover the water,
Yep.
cover the different things about food, as well as.
There's
all
so many
stuff.
different things we could talk about when it
There
comes to
is.
prepping.
It really
That's
is.
it.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music and Apple Podcasts. Check out the Zak Wylde Productions social media pages on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. Please get in contact, we'd love to find out how you're listening to us. So get in touch in the comments and don't forget to check out Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon to become an official ZWP patron today. That's a big, crepuscular goodbye from Zach.
I don't have one.
Twinkies.
How can I fit Twinkies into a goodbye?
Just say Twinkies.
Twinkies!
Twinkies. Goodbye from Jack over there. And I don't know. A fire striker goodbye from Buzz. There you go.
Goodbye!
Practice your fire striking skills. Go for it. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome back to the Now We Know Show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest and by the end we will have learnt something new and hopefully you will too. I'm Zach.
I'm Buzz.
And I'm Tina.
Tina's here.
Tina's in the studio.
Oh, I wonder what Tina's in for.
We're going to find out because this week we are going to discover all about Christmas carols.
If you enjoy the Now We Know Show podcast, why not support Zak Wylde Productions on our Patreon page? Become an official ZWP patron for as little as £1 a month for exclusive early access to all our latest episodes, videos, behind the scenes, updates and more. So, before we get into that, it's time for...
Oh, of course.
Word of the Week.
Word of the week.
Word of the week. Word of the week. Word of the week.
Word of the week.
Word of the week. Word of the week. Word of the week. So Word of the Week is all about old English words we don't use anymore. All you have to do is write down what you think it means in the comments. We will then reveal what it means at the end of the episode so you can find out if you got it right.
So, Zach, what is this week's Word of the Week?
So the word of the week this week is elf-lock.
Elf-lock?
Elf-lock.
Is it elf-lock or elf-flock?
Elf-lock.
With an L.
So it's spelt E-L-F-O-C-K. Elf-lock.
Right, so this sounds kind of festive.
Well, you'll find out at the end of the episode.
But I must admit, I don't know what elf-lock means.
No Googling, find out at the end of the
We're
episode.
going to fit it into a sentence. So in this episode, we're going to find out, as I say, about Christmas carols, history of Christmas carols. Everybody loves a Christmas carol. Why do we have Christmas carols? And we've got our special guest, Tina, in the studio.
A seasoned caroller.
A seasoned caroller, as you say, and we might get the odd rendition of her.
Ooh,
That'd be interesting, won't it?
exciting.
There you go.
Are you excited, Tina? Are you feeling the festive spirit? Are you full of mince pies and figgy pudding?
Wow.
Well, we are wearing the festive hats.
Yeah, it's the festive season.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Okay. Right, so let's look at the history of carols and where they're from. Now, I'm not a Christian myself, but I do love a Christmas carol.
Yes.
And I've loved them ever since I was a kid. And just like any other kind of music that you have from countries all around the world, you have lots of different types of music. You don't have to be a cowboy to enjoy country and western. So my point is, anybody can enjoy a traditional Christmas carol.
Yes.
You know, I find them uplifting. They remind me of my childhood. I used to sing in the choir at school. Back those days, I did even go to Sunday school when I was a kid. And, you know, I just have great memories. And a good Christmas carol kind of makes you feel...
Well, it feels Christmassy, doesn't it?
festive.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. It kind of
It's
feels like the
uplifting.
snow. It's the snow, isn't it?
It's the snow.
Uplifting.
It paints a picture.
Christmas trees.
That's it. Village ponds.
Yeah.
You know, all sorts of things. You know, frosted roads, little cottages with snow on the thatching.
Yeah, like a Christmas card.
Exactly. So there you go. It's a vocal Christmas card.
Oh, there you go. I like that. I like
Yeah,
that.
that's good. So let's just have a look. So if you've ever wondered when Christmas carols first came about, the answer lies in kind of about the 14th century, although their evolution sort of dates back obviously further than that, even before Christianity, because as we said in the Krampus podcast, where you have those old pagan festivals, there would have been songs, chanting, stories, dances, and so all festivals will have these kind of traditional songs that would be sung at a certain festival at a certain time of year. So they go back for hundreds, if not thousands of years with, you know, to keep people's spirits up, especially at this time of the year when we're coming into the long dark months of the year. And in certain northerly climes, you lose the sun altogether for a period of time.
Yeah, we mentioned that in the other podcast.
Exactly. So as Christianity spread across Europe and we get to the 14th century, the first carols started to be produced by the Franciscan friars, who were followers of Saint Francis of Assisi. And these kind of took the form of a dance in a circle with linked hands and everybody singing these songs. And huge numbers of Christmas carols survived from the 15th century, making it the best preserved aspect of English medieval music because they were so popular. So that's why we have such a rich history in these Christmas carols surviving, whereas other songs and things which were probably sung at other periods of the year have fallen by the wayside.
Right.
But carols have stuck with us. And it's believed that the dances associated with early carols died out as people just got bored with certain seasons of the year singing. So originally, as I say, carols weren't just associated with Christmas. They were associated with other seasons as well, but not as popular as the Christmas carols, which have survived over the centuries. So when we get to Christmas, it's a real festivity. especially going into the darkest months of the year. So Christmas carols survived, where carols linked to other parts of the year generally died out.
So, Tina, what got you into singing and Christmas carols?
Well, it was actually my grandmother who got me into singing when I was about 10 or 11 years old. I had been to Sunday school and things like that previously, but I was generally interested in music. That, and also I had the most wonderful music teacher at school called Mr. Ballard.
Good old Mr. Ballard.
Good old
That's a
Mr.
good
Ballard.
name. I like that name.
And he was amazing. He was just a fantastic teacher.
It's really
through
nice
and
when
through.
a certain teacher, years later, still sticks in your mind. That just proves the point that they did their job well.
Okay.
So what did Mr. Ballard introduce you to?
Well, the funny thing was, I remember being in the first year of senior school,
Okay.
and it was quite amusing actually, because when you're at junior school, you're all there in the hall and you're having a good old sing-song to the
As
hymns.
a group, yep.
As a group of people.
Did you have those big flappy kind of bits of
With-
paper that hang down?
Exactly, with the big flappy bits of paper. But
Flappy bits of paper?
Didn't you have those?
What are you talking about?
when I was at school, and obviously it sounds like when you were at
Yes.
school, Tina, they had like this huge pad of paper with the lyrics for the songs. So whether it was Christmas carols or hymns, they were on a bar sticking out from the wall, and we had a teacher with a rod who used to flip the sheets
No
over.
way.
Yeah.
Was this like an assembly?
Yeah,
and
so
stuff?
Yes, absolutely.
all the kids would be in there, and you'd be looking at this massive big paper pad that was just hung off the wall, and then Mr. Hedger in our case would flip.
Well, that's
the pages on.
completely different for me. We had a projector.
All right.
And then people
Technology.
from, I think it was year 4, were actually kind of like on a rota of, you've got to be the projectionists.
Right, okay.
So you've got to change the sheets on the projector as they get sung. And you get told off if you haven't organised the music
Okay.
during the assembly, and if you change it at the wrong point, you get told off again. So it was actually quite mean in that
Ours was
respect.
just a giant paper pad and
yeah.
and a wooden stick.
A bit more
Anyway,
technology.
Tina,
than
sorry.
at this point.
So as the years have gone on, it's become more and more technical then.
Yes, it has.
Yes.
But
So-
no,
so you were singing
That
it-
is most interesting. I guess there must have been a teacher there at some point with a pen, a nice black pen, writing
'cause it
all
was
the
all
words.
very well written.
Perfect.
Was it handwritten?
Yeah, handwritten,
yes.
usually in italic writing.
Oh, wow.
It's probably in my case, our headmaster was. He used to take the italic writing, because did you have fountain pens back in the day?
Yes.
Yeah, so we all had to do the italic writing. Anyway, we're going off.
No,
We're
not
slightly
quite
off.
you had to get a pass, didn't you, to be able to be allowed to
Have
do
a-
your calligraphy
Yes,
with
it-
your pen. And it was really good because the pen went together in lots of different ways.
Yes, and you had proper ink, and it would smudge
That's
everywhere
it.
if you weren't careful.
But
Anyway,
anyway, the
singing.
funny thing was
We'll get to
that
it.
We'll get to
when you're at junior school,
Yep.
everybody's there having a good old sing-song. And I remember the first assembly that I went to in senior school,
Yep.
everybody was mumbling.
That's because
And
they're
they were
too
so
cool
quiet.
for school. At
They
that
were so
age.
quiet. And I just sort of went to
Burst
go and have a
out.
good old sing, and it's
You're the only one singing.
everybody's like mumbling.
Oh, wow.
In fact, I have a theory about this, because as the years went on,
Yep.
when we got to the third year of secondary school,
Mm-hmm.
we changed headmaster,
Okay.
and then suddenly, instead of having whole lower school or upper school assemblies,
Mhm.
you would just have your year assembly,
Right.
and you would get to sit on chairs rather than sitting on the floor.
On
Oh,
the
wow.
floor, yeah.
But they never then did any singing whatsoever.
All
And
right.
I always thought that was a terrible shame.
So you started singing your carols at school.
Probably not,
Did-
actually.
Okay, so you didn't have a
Probably-
school choir that you were in then.
I was playing guitar at the time, so did I? I don't think I was in a school choir.
So
Or
when
was
did
I?
when did
I
you
might have been,
first
I can't
join
remember.
a choir to set you on the road to singing carols?
Actually, gosh, that is bringing some memories back. Actually, yes, I was in a choir. So that really is going back. I was in the choir, and I remember that we had these kind of mobile kind of classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that we had a choir in my junior school again. So at that point, I must have actually been younger than I said. I must have been younger.
Okay, so your route from then went into senior school, as you say, and then was it through senior school your love of singing in the choir carried you on, or did you start singing in a choir when you left school? Because I know from an early age you were singing in a church choir.
Yes, I'm just going to go back because you've got me thinking now. In fact, I remember my very first audition was actually to be one of the 3 shepherds in a school that I was attending for a little while with my cousin Amanda.
Was this up in Lincolnshire?
No, this was actually in Harrow.
Oh, in Harrow, right.
And I sung Bar Bar Black Sheep.
Oh, wow. Was this
That-
the audition?
This was the
That
audition.
very well-known choir, Christmas carol, Bar Bar Black Sheep.
It's Bar Bar Black Sheep. Gosh, now.
Did you get through the
Wow.
audition?
Yes, I got to be a shepherd.
You got to be one of the
I got to
shepherds.
be one of the shepherds, but I never actually got to do the show because
Oh,
my
no.
family moved away. So.
Oh, no. Now, when I did the nativity or whatever it was, I was one of the 3 innkeepers.
You had 3 innkeepers?
Oh, I can't remember. It was like innkeepers. I was an innkeeper, okay?
Yeah,
I think there were 3.
I actually do recall coming to watch you on
Yes.
stage.
Yeah.
And I remember Joseph and Mary coming and knocking on the door and asking if you had room. And you said that they could go and use the stable.
Mm.
Stable. And I remember Joseph and Mary coming to the door and asking if you had room in the inn.
Yeah.
And you said that they could use the stable. And then some money was meant to exchange hands.
Yes. They didn't follow the script, okay? They didn't follow the script.
All I recall is Joseph and Mary then trying to wander off stage with an innkeeper chasing after them, saying, grabbing hold of Joseph,
Give me my money.
putting him in an arm lock and getting his money off and going back to the inn.
Thank you. I had my money then.
Poor old Joseph.
I remember
He
that.
works in the
Was it
petrol
Hump-
station down the road.
Hump the Camel, I think it was called,
Hump
wasn't
the
it?
Camel.
That's Hump for the Camel. That
Yeah.
was
was
later.
later.
That was
Oh, that was later.
It was kind of like the
Okay.
one. The camel looked like a sea devil.
Yes, that was
Oh,
very
right,
strange.
okay.
That was going into some of the bizarre new types of nativity plays. That
Larry the Christmas lobster.
Oh my goodness.
was... Anyway, back to the carols in this festive episode. So, Tina, you did join. I remember you telling me you joined a church choir.
I did
What
indeed.
age was that then?
I would have been 11.
11.
Mm-hmm.
And where was the church?
It was in Abbots Langley.
Oh, yes.
St Lawrence's the Martyr.
And so, do you remember doing the carol concerts there when it came to
Yes.
Christmas?
I used to love doing the carol.
And
The
was that
carol
were they the ones
concerts.
where on Christmas Eve you'd go there for midnight?
Yes, Midnight Mass.
Midnight mass. Wow. Do you have any memories of that?
I used to love going to Midnight Mass. We'd have lots of candles and things like that. But there was one year where I think I was head choir girl at the time, and I had to start the whole Midnight Mass off. And I had to sit in the pitch dark. I went up to the belfry,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to sing Once in Royal David City.
Okay.
So of course you had to just
So it's just the little
Just
voice.
me, just
you.
me.
Just you.
Just
Wow.
me.
That must have been nerve-wracking.
just a bit.
What bit of an experience was that?
It was very, very, very nerve-wracking. But of course, after that, I had to obviously sing in key, and I didn't have any. I just had to do it. And do it
So
right.
when you say
Then,
singing in key, what's that?
in tune,
Okay. With everyone else? Or
No,
just
no,
by yourself?
just
So
me.
did you sing the whole song by yourself, or did the
Just
rest
the
of the
first
choir
verse.
join in?
No. The first verse is just the whole church is absolutely silent,
And just lit by
lit
candles.
with candles, not a sound. Not
Like,
a,
everyone's watching you.
no, nobody was watching me because they're all facing the other way.
Oh, okay.
So I'm in the belfry.
And they're all
in
facing the
silent,
altar.
They're all facing the altar, the opposite direction.
And then this little voice,
Bursts
angelic
out,
voice,
bursts
out
out,
of the darkness.
and then in the second verse, the organ and everybody else
Also,
sings.
you were just literally singing without even the organ.
No, nothing
That
at all.
really does paint a picture, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's quite magical.
Yeah.
So, seeing as that we did ask you into the studio to give us a rendition of some carols, what's your first carol you're going to sing us?
Well, I am going to sing something that's not quite so upbeat, but seeing as it is such a bitterly cold day today,
At time of recording.
Yes.
at time of recording,
Yeah,
ice. I think it's -6 outside at the
I
moment.
think the lowest temperature the UK's had is around -17 up in Scotland. And we've been having it easy at about -4 to -6 where we are. But yes, so we've got thick snow outside at the moment. So which song is it you've chosen?
I'm going to sing part of In the Bleak Midwinter.
Superb. Okay, over to you.
In the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made moan. Earth stood hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow had fallen, snow on snow, snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long ago.
Wow, that was fantastic.
That painted the picture perfectly, didn't it?
Yeah, a nice snowy day,
Yeah, cold,
winter weather.
winter weather, dark, frosty. Superb, Tina. Thank you very much for that. So, there you are singing in the choir, in the belfry, as you said. And at what sort of age were you doing this?
When I sung that, I think I was probably about 14. I remember I was meant to sing it the year before. However, we had a fantastic choir master, and his son's voice was just starting to break. So he sung it when
Right.
I was meant to be singing it,
Just to get in there quickly.
to get in there before he lost the opportunity.
Oh, bless him. And then he said he went all baritone, did he?
Well, I can't remember actually.
I don't know. What do you have? Actually, there's a good thing. I'm not a singer myself, so what do you? I mentioned the word baritone. So what type of levels of singing do you have in a choir?
Well, you have sopranos,
Okay,
which
that's
they,
right at the top.
they're
Yeah.
the ones who sing the
high
higher
notes.
Just to
part.
clarify, we're not talking about bats again, are we?
What do you mean?
Soprano.
Oh,
The
soprano.
patrol.
There's always a bat connection. We've already had the belfry.
Oh, bats in the belfry.
That's it. Sopranos in the belfry.
So,
Yeah.
so soprano sings the highest
notes.
part. However, sometimes you might have a second soprano part,
Okay.
which, if you think all of the sounds
hmm
when people say a word go together and they form a chord.
Okay.
So if you think that typically a chord is made out of at least 3 notes,
Yep.
you would have a soprano would be singing the higher note.
Okay.
Then usually an alto would be singing
Okay.
the one below. Then you would have your tenors, which would be singing the one below that. And then you'd have your basses. So they're the typical
Where's
4.
the baritone come? I said the word baritone. Is that not associated? I've got that wrong.
Well, it's
Is somebody a baritone?
bass. Well, it is a baritone.
Baritone is bass. Got
yes,
it.
it's
Right,
just
okay.
another word for
A
bass.
Okay. So you've painted this picture of the first time that you were up there singing in the belfry.
Mm-hmm.
What other memories do you have? Magical memories of the Christmas time, of around that, being in the church. Or did you go out carol singing at all? Did you did the choir go from the church and go to other places to sing carols?
I don't specifically recall doing carol singing at that time with the church, but I did have some fabulous visits. I got to sing in St Albans Abbey, which was rather nice.
That must have been fair, because that's where you had your graduation.
Oh, yeah.
When you graduated and given your
That was my graduation,
yes,
not Tina's.
not Tina's
Yes.
graduation.
Because you were pointing at me.
Yeah, it doesn't really work on audio. Though.
No, it doesn't.
That's right. So we've been to St Albans Abbey, so that must have been a magical experience.
And also there was a reopening. I remember we all went on a coach trip to reopen. I can't remember where it was. I think it might have been Ely Cathedral, but it was certainly somewhere over Norfolk Way. And it was a cathedral, and I must admit.
That brings up a memory. We did the Christmas light switch on, didn't we?
Oh, golly, we did, didn't we?
We did.
Oh,
We
that was
did.
you. That was you.
What were
and
you dressed-
Jack, who's
yeah.
not here tonight.
Yeah, he was a Dalek.
He was Dalek,
I was dressed as the 11th Doctor.
and
Tina?
you were unit soldier.
I was a unit soldier.
Yes, you had a little stick.
That's
You
it.
could
did
point at the
indeed.
audience. I think it was like however many thousand people or something.
That's
It was
it.
at
Where
least
you
5,000.
all trundled up on stage, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I think the mayor switched the lights on.
Yeah, it was for the Ely light switch on,
That's
and he was like just pointing a microphone in your face.
That's it. Say something.
Say something to this massive audience.
It was even funnier when, unfortunately, I couldn't make it, so I didn't. I
Yeah, because it was completely unscripted.
That was
I only
slightly nerve-wracking, I must
saw a
admit.
bit of that on the news bulletin when it came out, but I remember you describing that Jack the Dalek was
Yeah.
put on the spot as well, because obviously he had the Dalek voice box.
Yeah,
so
the modulator.
He was having to speak as a Dalek to 2,000 people just
On a
off-
stage.
On a stage, just
stage.
off the cuff.
Yeah, well, I think he said something like, Daleks have no concept of Christmas. Exterminate or
Brilliant.
something like that.
Oh,
That was hilarious.
Hilarious.
That the Dalek was so delicate though, and we had to go up a ramp.
Yeah, we had to push. We
We
had to push him up the
we,
ramp.
we had quite a intricate layout of scaffolding with ramping to push these Daleks up. And if you just sort of like touch the edge of the Dalek, it was
Very fragile.
very,
Some
very
of them were very
fragile.
fragile. Yeah, they were actually BBC Daleks, weren't they?
They were.
Classic
Yes.
Daleks.
Yes, talking about that, it was actually shown on the BBC, which was
Yeah.
quite cool. Revisiting it, there's me with my hands in the air, like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, yay!
Wow,
Fireballs, everything.
You're working your way around the cathedrals now. So,
actually I've been in Ely Cathedral before, haven't I?
oh yes, you filmed
oh man, that was okay. So I don't know who's listening, but that was torturous.
Oh dear.
it. Oh dear. What other
We were
memory has
doing-
Ely Cathedral given you now?
Well, we did a scene from Macbeth where the ghost is appearing at the banquet,
Oh yes.
and there were quite a few of us there, and we literally had to be in absolute silence
In a cathedral, that's going to be difficult.
for 20 minutes for each take, and we did it again
20 minutes.
and again.
Silence.
Ouch. What was
Yeah.
happening at the time?
A ghost was appearing.
Which version of Macbeth was this?
I have no idea.
Was it the one with Michael Fassbender?
Yes,
Okay.
Oh yeah.
it's the one that I
I
did
recall. I
on
worked
that
on it as
common.
well.
Was it Hankley Common? I can't remember where we filmed it now.
Anyway,
Anyway, we're
Mind you, now,
diversifying.
that's a nice Christmas memory. Oh man, that was freezing. I mean, absolute freezing. When we did that filming, we had 11 layers of clothing on, including plastic bags.
and you're saying this is a good Christmas memory?
Well, yes, because I recall that I was in the camper
Yep.
nearby,
Mhm.
and we were doing split days. So we were starting filming at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, but then we were finishing at 2 or 3 in the morning. But what that meant was the following day there was nobody there when I was waking up in the morning. So I'm in the middle of nowhere,
Uh-huh.
all on my own,
Yep.
but feeling completely safe. And on one morning, I was sitting there, nice and comfortable, cappuccino in hand, thinking this is the life. And a whole herd of deer came
Just-
around the camper,
just
and I
walked
was
around
like
the camper.
right next to these deer, antlers and all. And this
Oh,
was
wow.
like January, February time.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's great.
I mean, it was proper cold. Oh, mind you,
Were they
another-
scary or were they nice deer?
well, they were big deer. They were big deer.
Didn't want to
My-
mess with them.
Mind you, that brings back another memory. It was so windy on that shoot on one particular night that the tent, the marquee, it took off.
Oh
In
dear.
fact, I went there on different days for filming, and yeah, the one end of a marquee was destroyed.
Oh dear.
So we
dear.
actually got evacuated from site.
And this was a good memory.
It's a good
Well,
one.
no,
Or was that the
was-
deer?
And oh my gosh, I am bringing some memories up. So I think on another occasion we went back. We were in one of those cargo sort of those buildings. What are those buildings? That are metal and square and ugly looking, and you store things in.
A storage container.
That's it, storage container. We were in one of those, and we all ended up having to sing songs. So that was quite good.
Oh, there you go.
Back
So
to
that
the
was a
singing
nice-
then.
Back to the
That-
singing.
That brought us round back to the singing.
Yes,
And talking about singing, you're going to sing us another carol. So,
I think perhaps the Bleak Winter would have been more appropriate for that, actually.
so what is our second carol you're going to sing us, Tina?
I think we shall be a little bit more cheery, and we shall sing "God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen."
It's Good for me.
Go on, take it away.
God rest you, merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. For Jesus Christ our Saviour was born upon this day, to save us all from Satan's power when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. From God our Heavenly Father a blessed angel came, and unto certain shepherds brought tidings of the same, how that in Bethlehem was born the Son of God by name. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
Hey, round of applause there.
Huzzah. Encore. Can I say encore?
Yeah, of course you can.
Okay.
We're going to get another song in a minute anyway, so
Yes.
that's good. So, brilliant. So we've brought you into the passion for singing carols, and after you were at, which was the name of the church?
St. Lawrence's.
St. Lawrence's. How long were you there singing for St. Lawrence's?
Well, I don't know how things are now, but back in the day, it was kind of an unwritten rule that as a female you had to leave the choir at 16.
Oh dear. So you actually had to leave the choir then?
Yes.
Against, I mean, obviously you wanted to stay.
I think the thing is it was so kind of subliminally put out there that I think when I did come to leave, I had other distractions.
Okay.
But I don't feel that it would have been welcome.
They can't still be doing
Well,
that today.
I'm sure they don't do that now, but at the time, it would have been deemed that a lady's voice wouldn't have been...
Wouldn't have worked with what they were looking for.
Exactly.
That's very outdated.
That's outdated. But there you go. That's back in the day.
This
Not
was
saying that
in
you're
the-
old, Teen, by the way.
This was in the 80s.
Back in the
Okay.
80s, there you go.
So this isn't now, and I'm sure it's very different
Mhm.
now. But at the time, it just wasn't the thing that the ladies, if as a guy,
Yep.
as a chap, you could start as a soprano and, you know, as your voice broke, become an alto and then maybe end up being a tenor or a baritone. But as a lady, it was, you know, you kind of had to go.
So when you left, where did that lead you?
To go out on the town.
I meant singing wise. Did you give up singing or did you continue in some
Did
other
you find
form?
another choir somewhere?
Well, I think at the time I was actually doing some exams in singing for a time, at least at a.
So a heavily qualified singer in the room right now.
Oh,
Well, I'm very, very out of practice, I have to say.
Well, you're sounding good to us so far.
But no, at that time I think I had been contemplating being an opera singer.
Oh, yes. And I must attest that I have seen you on stage singing.
Oh, that reminds me. That's what I did. I went off and did. I did continue with singing.
Yes, because you went into amateur dramatics,
I
didn't
went
you?
into amateur dramatics,
That's it.
and
Do you want to tell us about that?
It was good fun, mostly.
Well, that sounds like there's a story to be told there.
Maybe on another occasion, I reckon. But yeah, you did a lot of stage singing, and I remember seeing you on stage. And I know you had a passion for opera, and but you did, if I'm right, you actually joined a choir at a Seventh-day Adventist church.
I did indeed, and that was the best fun.
That was the best fun.
Yeah?
There you
Truly
go.
was.
And I had the pleasure to actually attend some of the choir practice. I didn't sing myself. No, I just sat in the. Didn't they have a room to one side that had like glass in it?
An observation room.
Well, it got,
don't
unless,
remember that.
yeah. I think I'm right in saying that there was a room to the side that had a panel of glass in, and I assumed that this room was for them to take the noisy children into, so the children couldn't be heard.
Golly, perhaps.
So I used to
yes.
hide in the
didn't know
in
that.
case the choir mistress, who's called Hazel,
lovely lady.
lovely lady, but I was terrified that she'd come and grab you by the collar and force me to go.
Duck and cover, right?
Stuck up, so I'm going in the choir room. but they were good times, and I remember you.
They were good times. They
sing some-
were the best. I think the thing is, I'm not going to get into religion or anything like that, but I think that the sort of the Church of England church that I went to is probably quite a formal. High kind of religious place to be.
Yep.
Whereas
the Seventh
Day Adventist church, so much more fun.
More easygoing.
Easygoing, welcoming people. We had a happy, jolly, fun time. We always did fun things.
Mm-hmm.
And had a wonderful time at Christmas.
And I always used to come and, as I say, enjoy listening to both the rehearsals and having the pleasure of coming to listen to the actual concerts themselves. Which brings us on to an opportunity for you to sing another carol. What are we going to get next?
Well, I think when we're talking about the church that I went to, the SDA church, I remember we spent a lot of time, whether it's correct or not, I don't know, but working out the dialect, the correct pronunciation for Silent Night, but in German.
Ah, right. So you're going to give us a
little bit of German.
Silent Night.
Apologies if I haven't got it quite right.
But, well, let's go. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Take it away.
Wow, yeah,
that was
another
great.
round of applause.
Huzzah.
There. Huzzah, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. So, obviously, you enjoyed singing with the Seventh Day Adventists, and how long were you with that choir?
Quite a while, actually. I think until you were born.
So that was
Me?
the late 90s.
Oh dear. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
It's all my fault that you left.
No, that's another story.
Maybe next year.
Yeah. So, Zak, we haven't come over to you yet. What kind of wonderful Christmas memories do you have?
Well, when it comes to singing, I can only really think of singing at school as a little kid. But most of the time, I don't know, just general Christmas fun times.
So do you have kind of, when you hear a Christmas carol, are there any carols that sort of...
Well, when I listen to Christmas carols and things, I always think of A Christmas Carol, because that's, Scrooge, the musical version of A Christmas Carol with Albert Finney. And
yeah, that is a superb film.
We watch that pretty much every year.
It's not Christmas, or Winterfest as I like to call it, without watching that movie.
Yeah, that's
because
pretty much all I think about.
It's got such fun, uplifting songs in it.
Yeah.
There's a particular scene where they are using the bells.
Campanologists.
Ding, 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 ding. I think I can recall the scene,
Yeah.
And that paints to me just this wonderful, happy, jolly Victorian
Christmas. Yep.
with that wonderful part in that
When all
movie
the bell ringing
when
is
all
going
the
on.
bell ringing is going, the campanology,
I
and they're
could-
all so jolly and
Well, they're doing
happy.
some fantastic dancing with that as well, aren't they?
Exactly, and to me, that particular bit really makes me think of a wonderful Victorian Christmas where you might have had the people
That sort of
skating on the River Thames.
chocolate box Christmas card kind of Christmas.
Well, I can tell by the
Absolutely.
expressions on your faces you really like it.
Yeah,
You know, that
I think
particular bit.
that's tweaked a memory and a feeling there.
So with that in mind, that particular
Yep.
bit in that movie always makes me think of the song "God Rest You Merry Gentlemen."
Well, we are really into the Christmas spirit here now.
Yeah.
I can hear those bells.
It's almost like it's some kind of ancient Victorian Christmas party.
Already, yeah. I want to go and play the minister's cat.
Anyone got a cheese board?
Exactly. Where's the port?
Maybe that's the
Ooh.
topic for another podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So, after you were singing with the Seventh-day Adventists, did you continue with your singing?
Well, I think around that time we went to a fabulous wedding, if you remember, on Christmas Eve.
Ah, yes, I do now you bring it up. That's probably one of the most magical moments that I recall sharing that Christmas feeling with you and being as your husband, watching you perform. And it was the most magical of moments, I must admit. Do you want to tell us all about that?
Well, I have to say I'd never sung with a microphone before then,
Uh-huh.
so I was a little bit nervous. But I think I had a little practice run before the wedding, and my voice carried fine in the church when there was nobody there.
Yep.
But of course, as soon as you suddenly get clothing in the room,
All the bodies.
all the bodies in the room,
they just
all the sound suddenly
gets
gets
absorbed.
absorbed by all the clothing.
Mhm.
And particularly at that time of year being
Maybe you say that time of the
Christmas.
year. Yeah, maybe we should paint the picture. It was actually a family wedding.
Mhm.
Your cousin,
Yep.
cousin Amanda, marrying Martin, and they decided to get married on Christmas Eve.
Exactly.
You know, and that was it's probably the best wedding I've ever attended. Not meaning to downplay anybody else's weddings that I've been to, but it was just the fact that it was Christmas, and we arrived at the church, and it was a lovely, quaint little church in Lincolnshire, wasn't it? And when you entered the church, of course, being Christmas, it was all festooned with holly and wreaths and candles. It was, you can imagine going into a church just on any other day of the year, but Christmas, it was just already.
It was like medievally Christmas.
Was it snowing?
It was very cold, I recall, but I don't recall snow. But it was, and then when we entered, they were handing out mince pies.
Oh, wow.
Which
Okay.
was fantastic.
Yeah, and they had a traditional old chimney sweep there, a bit like Mary Poppins Victorian chimney sweep, which is meant to be good luck for the bride and groom. And of course the whole place was just Christmas.
It was Christmas.
It was just Christmas, and the
Personified Christmas.
and which part of the ceremony were you singing? Were you singing it after
I
or
can't
before?
remember. I would imagine it probably would have been whilst the registers were being signed.
Yeah, so you'd had the bride and groom had come into the church, and obviously gone through the ceremony,
Exchanged their vows.
at the altar, but and that was the other thing, because Amanda, the bride, you imagine most brides having a white dress, which she did, but because it was Christmas, she had a huge
Cloak.
forest green trimmed cloak that
Trailing
trailing
behind.
behind. It was just like,
Oh, it's wonderful.
it was the most amazing add-on to a wedding outfit. Having this coat with a hood and everything, and that's right. And then when they went off to sign the register, that was your moment,
It was indeed.
and I was so proud of her singing away.
Aww.
And what did you sing?
One of the songs I sung was The Holly and the Ivy, which I shall sing for you now.
Ooh, excellent, most excellent.
Off you go.
The holly and the ivy, when they are both full grown, of all the trees that are in the wood, the holly bears the crown. Oh, the rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the sent Jesus Christ to do poor sinners good. Oh, the rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the merry organ, sweet singing in the choir.
Way, well, that has really finished us on a high. Oh, feeling so Christmassy now.
Well, we are close to Christmas.
I want to just attack a big box of crackers and tell jokes. It's great. So that's it. It's been fantastic. I think we just got to round off with word of the week, haven't we?
Yeah, got word of the week, haven't we?
I don't think
Wait,
you're
what?
going to get away with it that easily, boys.
Okay. What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Well, you've got me in quite a nice happy Christmas spirit now. So I think I would like to remember my choir days by having you two join in with a little "We wish you a Merry Christmas" to
She
all
wants
your
us to
listeners.
sing.
Oh dear.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yes.
We don't sing.
I'm sure you can.
We're taking over the podcast.
What's going on? It's all going wrong.
Well, you've
Okay.
got a choice.
So what
you
are we
can
gonna
either
sing?
sing the 12 Days of Christmas,
We'll still be here at Christmas.
Yeah.
or
Maybe.
New Year for that matter.
I'm not even sure I know the words.
It's always 12
How
something
about
and
we
others.
wish you a Merry Christmas?
What do you reckon, Zach?
Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, you're in charge, choir mistress. We wish you a Merry Christmas. Here we go.
We
Wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your King. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. A Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
La 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 la.
I don't know what we do on that bit, but there! Yay!
Hey, we had a sing-song.
Did that make you feel better, Tina?
Yes,
The boys got involved.
the boys are back in town.
Okay. Hey, so that just leaves us with
Word of the week. So, the word of the week this week was elf-lock. What do we think elf-lock means?
Right, it sounds like some kind of all-in wrestling move used at the North Pole, you know. He's got him in a suplex. Now, no, he switched to an elf lock.
Tina?
And there I was thinking something a lot more straightforward, like some sort of big chest that you need to have magical
Like a sort of chest.
words,
One you,
big
keep,
chest.
one you keep elves in.
magical words that the elf has got words that he's put an elf lock on the chest so you can't get the presents out.
Sounds like something from Empire.
Crikey, you really thought about that, haven't you?
Yeah, you should go to Empire.
So, elf-lock is a sweet word for describing hair that is tangled as if it is matted by elves.
Oh, right. So if you've got a little curl of hair which has been sort of tangled together,
Yes.
it's an elf.
It's an elf-lock.
Like a little curl, like
Yes, it's where your hair's all twiddled together and the elves have been overnight and matted your hair together.
So well done if you got that right in the comments.
Well, I'll be amazed if anybody got that right. But there you go.
I thought it was probably the most easiest of the word of the weeks we've had so far.
Well, it's certainly very topical. Christmassy.
Yeah.
it's like that little rhyme. There was a little girl who had a little curl right in the middle of her forehead. But when she was good, she was very, very good. And when she was bad, she was horrid.
All right. Maybe the elves had twiddled her hair up. Who knows?
Okay.
Elf lock.
So, Tina, we've enjoyed having you in the studio today.
Yes, thank you
Has
so
it been
much.
a fun experience?
Thank you so much for coming in and
It
singing.
has. It's brought back a lot of memories that I forgot I even had.
Okay, big question. Would you come back?
Yes.
To do what? Any ideas?
I will talk to you about another subject that I'm interested in, and I think that I could give your viewers some valuable insight.
Ooh, I wonder into what?
Cats.
Cats.
Ooh.
All sorts of things about behaviour, possible tips about attending to medical conditions, about feline behaviour.
Oh, wow. Don't give too much away, so I think this is a topic that we'll have to explore in the
In-
new year.
2023.
Wow, that feels so far away and yet so close.
Yeah,
Oh dear,
that's
slightly
right.
scary.
There we go.
Just a little.
If you want to give your cats a treat at Christmas, get them some super strong catnip.
Super strong catnip.
Yes, it.
Yes.
And
You
then-
don't need to spend lots of money
We have
on fancy
many
toys.
stories about catnip in our
Yes,
house.
it.
Yes.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music and Apple Podcasts. Check out the Zak Wylde Productions social media pages on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. Please get in contact, we'd love to find out how you're listening to us. So get in touch in the comments and don't forget to check out Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon to become an official ZWP patron today. That's a big musical goodbye from Zak!
And 5 gold rings. Goodbye from Buzz.
And we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from Tina.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, listeners.
Merry
We'll
Christmas,
see you
everybody.
soon.
Merry
Bye,
Christmas.
Merry
Have a good one.
Merry Christmas!